The national tournament is so historic in its making. Of course, it was our original tournament that we started with 45 years ago. But what is so unique about Spruce Meadows are the grounds, the jumps, for example, the athletes that have participated over the years, and of course our terrific sponsors. So when we started Spruce Meadows 45 years ago, my mother and father knew it was very important to have and really be able to service the main stakeholders. And the stakeholders are the athletes, equine and human, the media, the sponsors, and of course our fans, our wonderful fans. So what did we do? Well, my father went out and raised money to encourage our athletes to come to Spruce Meadows, because at that time, who even knew where Calgary was? And so it was enticing for the athletes to come to Spruce Meadows because they were going to jump for great prize money. Over the years, that's grown. In those days, we had a media challenge where we had the media go out to trainers around the area, and we taught them how to ride. And they had a competition, and they learned to jump, and they were like, oh, this is really fun and hard. And so they wrote about our sport to our fans. And then we invited the fans to come to Spruce Meadows. And my father always said, you know, if you jump across the fence, you can come in for free, which is not a very good business model, but it has been great because it really has solidified Spruce Meadows to the community in where we are.
The Devil's Knight. Oh, Hoskin wipes it out. And Miller's out.
Ian Miller aboard Big Ben, a clear round.
Another rookie comes into the international ring, Eric Lamaze.
And look at him fly across this turf.
What's he doing? What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, another historic moment at Spruce Meadows. You can't author scripts like this.
Hello and welcome to the International Ring at Spruce Meadows for the Sunday edition of the 2020 Spruce Meadows National at Home Edition. I'm Ian Allison. I'm delighted that you're joining us here today. If you weren't with us yesterday, you can catch all of Saturday's action on our Spruce Meadows YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a look back in the history books at the start of the Spruce Meadows Derbies and those first courses designed by the great Pamela Carruthers of Great Britain. We're also going to continue our celebration of community, first responders, and the special events that go on at the Spruce Meadows National each and every June, up until, of course, this stall rest we've all been forced into by COVID-19. And we're also going to meet the key personnel that make it all happen behind the scenes for the horses: the grooms, the veterinarians, and the farriers. And there's a man here at Spruce Meadows that's been pounding nails for decades. His craft is his passion. I'm speaking of the Spruce Meadows resident farrier, Lance Sloman.
My name is Lance Sloman, and I've been a farrier for close to 40 years, I guess now. Probably 30 of that I've been the show farrier here at Spruce Meadows. I got my start by accident. I had sort of gotten away from horses when I was in my teens. My sister got involved with horses, and through her, my girlfriend got involved. So they sort of dragged me back into it a bit. The farrier that was doing our horses at the time, I was always pestering him, asking him questions, and after about a year, he finally said, why don't you just take a course, learn how to be a farrier, and and you'll have a lot of your questions answered. Little did I know that I still have questions today that I wanted answered. We'll jog the horse up and down here. We want to see how comfortable it is. When they're a little uncomfortable and uneven, you can hear the difference. Connor, let's do it again. This time we'll look at the horse from straight on and see how its limbs are traveling. What I saw was that she's relatively comfortable. She's got quite a long foot right now. She's probably a little overdue for a trim. Just like all of us, she has a preference. She's what you would call maybe a right-handed horse. And it makes a difference in the way they stand, the way they move. And what we have to try and do is balance her a little better so that she wants to be more even. I like the horse itself. I enjoy being with horses. I like the artistic aspect of blacksmithing, both the blacksmithing and the work on the horse. It does require an awful lot of experience to be able to notice the things that we need to notice, to be able to get it all put together right. So she's grown an awful lot of toe and not much heel on this hoof. So I'm taking a little more toe off. It is physically demanding. It's a very awkward position under the horse. We can make it more comfortable for ourselves, then it becomes more difficult for the horse. If we pull the foot out to where we're comfortable and as high as we're comfortable, then it's so uncomfortable for the horse that he just can't maintain that for more than a few seconds. I've trimmed the foot to what I think is the optimum balance, and then I just use the rasp to make the hoof nice and level. What I want in most cases is the plane of the bottom of the hoof to be perpendicular to the cannon bone. When we start out, we do an awful lot of measuring on the shoes, on the hoof. In most cases, it is a matter of millimeters or even a fraction of a millimeter. When we look at the hoof, a 1/16 of an inch would be quite noticeable to us. As we go on, we start to be able to actually see more than we can see with just measurement. We see how we can affect the horse's movement in ways that measurement wouldn't help us with. It's not intuition, but it's a subconscious feeling for what we're seeing. Normally we'd just fit to the perimeter of the hoof and be happy with that. But we want to go a little further back with the shoes and back with the toe, back with the heels rather than back with the toe. We'll get 30, 40 horses in a day. Sometimes it's things to help them, they're having issues. Sometimes it's just putting a shoe back on. What I'm doing with this shoe is I've knocked the toe over a little bit. I'm making the shoe a little more blunt than the hoof is so they can pull that toe back. We call them forges. This one would probably be somewhere around 1800 degrees maybe. It's not hot enough to melt the steel, but it's hot enough to get it close. Like they say, strike while the iron's hot. try the fit with the shoes still hot, and because the horse has such a dense hoof, the heat won't transfer very readily into the sensitive tissue, so I can make a perfect match between the shoe and the hoof. We enjoy the horses, we enjoy the outdoors. We can do a job in an hour and a half and get that gratification if it works out well. What we want to do is use as small a nail as possible because we're driving it in through the wall. It's a rectangular nail so that it'll slip in more easily. And we'll use as few nails as possible so that we do as little damage to the hoof capsule as possible. Now what I'm doing is just setting the nails, sort of like tightening lug nuts. This just creates a little notch underneath the nail that the nail can fold into and create a bit of a staple effect with the clinch. It's like competing in sports. You're always striving to get it right. Never happy that you're quite there. I'm never satisfied that I've achieved the ideal. And the horses can't tell me that, yeah, that feels great, you know. You look at the move and if they look comfortable, you feel a little bit satisfied. So now we're a little happier with the balance on this horse, and we'll give her a jog and see if she's happier. Okay, Connor. When I watched her move, I noticed that she's landing very nicely and evenly on 3 feet, and on that white foot that she's a little crooked on, she's not traveling as evenly. She's bringing that hoof inward a bit in flight. When we do her the next time, we'll be able to get her a little closer to ideal on that one. They say the English have an expression, if you can take a lady's silk stocking and have no catches, you're good to go.
Paying attention to the smallest detail, getting to the destination the most efficient way possible, ensuring all individual elements are working together to drive high performance, and making sure you do it consistently. Being the best comes down to perfect execution. That's not just good show jumping. That's good railroading. We love a sport that rewards precision.
It's time for ooey gooey, melt in your mouth, lip smacking, soul affirming, lovely, special, smooth, delicious chocolates. Only from Purdy's Chocolatier.
There are so many behind-the-scenes personnel involved in this sport, making sure the horse and the rider are ready to come through the clock tower and give it their very best. Case in point, as we turn the clock back now to 1997 and the CP World Cup, back at a time when Spruce Meadows hosted World Cup competitions. What a showdown it was on the final day of the Spruce Meadows National, featuring 2 Olympic gold medalists, Leslie Howard with the youngster Sublieft and Jan Tops of the Netherlands with Operette Lucia. Also in the mix, Canada's Hugh Graham, and the youngest man ever to win the World Cup of show jumping, Canada's Mario Delorier. The 1997 Canadian Pacific World Cup.
After 22 years, there's a proud tradition on World Cup Day at the Spruce Meadows National. Hello and welcome to our coverage of the Canadian Pacific World Cup. I'm Ian Allison, joined as always by Nancy Southern. And Nancy, in Canada on the moment, there's a transition, a changing of the guard, if you will, in the air in show jumping in Canada.
A lot of our veteran riders are coming out on young horses. And for the first time ever, we have a lot of new entries competing for their very first time in international competition at the Canadian Show Jumping Championships.
Beth Underhill rode into town with her veteran mount Monopoly. He was not up to the job of carrying her to the title again in 1997. However, she's gone to the bench and she seems to have found a good one.
Well, her horse Altair, second horse out in the competition today, is a rising star, perhaps a little bit like Tiger Woods, a cut above all the rest of the horses.
Of course, this event is not beyond its share of surprises. In a 22-year history, there's been some predictable winners and some upset winners. Last year was case in point. Francie Stein-Waddell of La Cañada, California, aboard Sylvia.
Well, it was a startling, stunning performance, surprising everyone in the stands, as well as the other competitors. Francie turned in the only clear round in the World Cup qualifier.
Our defending champion has returned, and she's standing by at course level with our colleague, Pollyanna Hardwick-Brown.
We're down to the big day, the World Cup day. I'm with defending champion, Francie Stein-Waddell. How's Sylvia looking?
Sylvia is right on target. She's jumping well this week, and she loves the field. She's on.
Well, that's great. Now, you've seen the competition. Who do you think's your competition for today?
Well, I do think that it's anyone's game on any day, and I think basically the course is a big part of it.
You've just walked the course. Where do you see the most difficult part of it being?
There's a lot of related lines in there that Linda Allen has put in. And earlier in the week, she had a lot of single jumps. So I think the related after the water to the most of the in and outs is going to be difficult.
Now I'm standing here and you're the defending champion. You're walking under the clock tower. Is there any added pressure?
Not then. I don't think then. It's right now. It's more now than then, because once I get focused and go to do what my job, hopefully nothing will interfere with that.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
I suspect Francie Stein-Waddell and Sylvia will be in tough to defend their title. They're last into the competition. It will be an interesting position for them in today's World Cup. Joining us now in our broadcast position, Canadian team veteran John Anderson. And John, you've been in this position having to ride into the international ring on many occasions on World Cup Day.
World Cup Day is like no other day in a tournament. Right from the start, when you get out of bed in the morning, you know you're going to have to do some serious jumping. A lot of the riders try to do their own little thing to get themselves calm. What I tended to do in the past was just kind of go take a few minutes, sit in the stands, try to get a good bird's eye view of the course and just relax as best I can.
John, today's course is quite difficult. Our course designer is Linda Allen, hot off the Atlanta Olympic Games where she accomplished a great deal, a great result. And today she's thrown 3 combinations into this course.
Linda's a phenomenal course designer, henceforth why she did the Olympic Games. Very interesting thing she's done today. She's does not have a triple combination, which typically doesn't happen in a World Cup. But she's hit all the riders with 3 very difficult double combinations, starting right off the bat at fence number 3 with a curved wall, something I've never even seen in a World Cup class.
There's an amazing Olympic connection here, not only through Linda Allen, but we have a number of riders who have represented their countries in the games of the Summer Olympics, and unique amongst them is Tim Grubb.
What is there to say about Tim Grubb? He has ridden for both Great Britain and the United States. He has experienced every high and low in the sport, from winning a silver medal at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics to walking out of the ring in 1994 at the World Championships.
I think if you've always wanted to win, I don't think that ever goes away. It's a good feeling winning. It's a real good feeling. That to me, that never goes away.
Originally from England, Grubby has resided in the United States since 1980. He became an American citizen and rode for the U.S. for the first time in 1994. What keeps the 43-year-old competitive? The crowds, the honor in riding for your country, the sport, the thrill of winning, and above all else, his love for the horse.
The 2 horses I ride this weekend are Elan Dennison and Karis J. Dennison is a good old friend. He's somebody you can rely on. I enjoy riding him very much. And the other horse is Karis J, who I've had for approximately 12 months. He has a tendency to become a little shy when he goes into a big arena, especially if there's a big crowd. He still hasn't learned how to handle that, but all in all, we look forward to a good weekend.
Tough to deny Tim Grubb an opportunity at victory today. However, there's plenty of horsepower he'll have to contend with.
There's a lot of good horse flesh in this class today. Altair certainly can't be counted out. I realize it's a young horse, but it's showing all the signs of a superstar. Also, Operette Lucia with Jan Tops, all the way over from Holland. I mean, this guy's just got a ton of experience. I think both of those will be good horses.
And Jan Tops has moved into 4th position in the World League standings. He's always a tough competitor. But what about Missouri? A horse that's come out of nowhere. Katie Lifto is the rider. She's never competed at Spruce Meadows before. And she did an outstanding job in Canada Post's evening competition last night.
Well, when you talk about newcomers in transition, Harold Chopping has arrived with a horse named Sector 11, a Russian-bred horse that has been very impressive.
I'm very impressed with that horse. To be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about it, but he was spent a couple of days over at my ranch here down the road, and when I first saw the horse jump, I wasn't really impressed, but as soon as you put the jumps up, I tell you, he can jump.
Not only can he jump, he can go fast. Winning the Canada Post competition last night, he looked like he had air to burn and wheels to burn as he zipped around that course.
On course, our first to go today, Davos, the big ground covering gelding with Chris Pratt in the saddle from Erin, Ontario.
Well, Chris knows this horse, Davos, like the back of his hand. And the one fault this horse has had is that on occasion he's a little bit lazy, not quite careful enough to become a top international horse, and he's got a bit of age under him at 16 years of age. However, it's very difficult being the first rider out on any track to know how the course is going to ride.
International course designer Linda Allen has presented a test today that covers 585 meters. The time allowed for our horses to complete the course, 88 seconds over a total of 13 obstacles, including quite unusually 3 double combinations, Nancy.
Well, we talked about that at the beginning of the show. There's a look at the combination after the water, a very difficult line, and you saw that Chris and Davos splashed right through the water jump. Being a World Cup qualifier and one of the most important events for the Canadian Show Jumping Championships, it's a very difficult track. And Chris Pratt is now on 12 jumping faults. First rider out, 88 seconds is the time allowed. And another fence comes down.
4 faults, of course, for every obstacle lowered as he makes his way down the final line here to the skinny white vertical. Obstacle number 13. Chris Pratt finishes up his effort aboard the Big Bay gelding Davos with 16 faults.
Well, Chris, Linda Allen has put in a very difficult line to the water jump. It's a short distance, and the horses really need to gallop and get up some speed. You can see that Chris didn't quite make the takeoff point. His horse lands right in the middle. There's a great shot of his horse putting one foot back behind the tape into the water. That's 4 of 16 faults that Chris Pratt had.
There's a look at the defending Canadian champion, Beth Underhill. She has every reason to be smiling. She's got one of the great young stars in the sport in the Bay gelding Altair.
In Arabic, it means the bird. He doesn't just jump, he takes flight. And like the bird, he has a free spirit. His name, Altair.
He has all the makings of being a top international horse, I feel. But more than that, he's really got a very strong character, and that sometimes works for you and against you at this young stage in his career, because he really feels that he knows it all.
Watching Altair, you instinctively know he's in a league of his own. Born with the raw talent, blessed with the attitude, Altair is a winner.
I remember vividly sitting on a picnic bench eating an ice cream cone and saw this horse walk in the ring, and there was something about him. I just stopped And I watched him go around, and I was at the gate before the horse was even out of the ring, and I had to try him.
It's easy now to recognize what Underhill saw that day in Holland. With 3 years of building, developing, and nurturing all the right elements of his character, Altair is just arriving at his prime.
What really sets him apart is his strength of character. And that's something that at the end of the day is what holds him in good stead and what makes him a special horse. Going into the ring time and time again, coping with the pressure of their job, and still having the desire to win. And that's what I felt from the beginning that he had.
Altair the bird, or, as it is found in Webster's dictionary, Altair is defined as the brightest star in the Eagle constellation. Higher, faster, stronger, brighter. Altair the star.
Most certainly one of the shining stars in international show jumping. Altair looking to fill the mighty shoes of Monopoly, who wasn't quite up to defending his title in 1997 here at Spruce Meadows. Now 34-year-old Beth Underhill revs the motor of this impressive young gelding, looking to put in a clear round here.
He's a very big horse. You can see where Beth's leg comes just halfway down his belly, and yet he seems to be a very rideable horse. He can make his stride very small, or he can lengthen his stride. Whoa, look way up in the air over jump number 1.
17 hands tall, very athletic, strength of character, the qualities they all like in their horses.
Look at the way this horse kicks his hind end up. And Beth going to the whip because he's hanging up in the air a lot there. So she wants to get him to move forward. Oh, he is powering out, jumping the standards here, and has not touched a fence so far.
The crowd at Spruce Meadows very appreciative of his ability. Oh, problems for Beth Underhill.
He jumped her right out of the saddle there. Oh, she was trying to hang on. Not quite able to do it. There you see, Beth's got a smile on her face. She can't really be mad at this horse because he just jumped way too big and unseated her out of the tack. What an outstanding athlete this horse is.
Tough luck for Beth Underhill. Look at this.
Way up. Oh, and Beth was trying to get the horse to turn a little bit to her left so she'd get a better approach to the water jump. And Altair just keeps going to the right. Kicks out, unseats her, and what a jumping horse this is. It's just incredible.
It'll be tough to convince Beth Underhill that it was an impressive day, but indeed an impressive display by Altair. A long walk out of the international ring for the 96 Canadian champion, Beth Underhill with Altair.
And there's a look at Marion, Altair's groom. She's smiling as well, giving him a big pat. Nobody can get mad at the horse for jumping too high.
Still looking for a clear round here at Spruce Meadows, and here's a man who gets the most out of any horse, and he's done so especially with the impressive Hanoverian stallion El Lute. We're speaking of Matt Cohn from King, Ontario, a member of the 96 Canadian Olympic effort, and this stallion really gives it his every bit of being to Matt Cohn.
This stallion doesn't have the same power as the last horse we saw, Altair, but he, as you say, Ian, he gives Mac everything, and he is always trying. He will swing his legs off to the side to try and make sure that he avoids the fence. He's working every step of the way with his rider, Matt Cohn.
They have a great relationship that they've taken a couple of years to develop. Matt Cohn bought this horse as a young stallion, seeing some qualities in it that he thought could take him to the top of the sport. El Lute, just 12 years of age now, in the prime of his life, carrying 4 faults.
Well, handled the water very nicely there. Here's the second combination, didn't even touch it. Beautiful ride there. Mac had a little problem with that vertical that Beth fell off at. El Lute didn't jump quite high enough, knocked that one down, and he's through the third combination on 4 faults. Oh.
Planks come down.
Just got a little too flat. It was a little long distance, and perhaps if Mac could ride it over again, I think he might add another stride, get his horse more compact to that plank vertical, and it's going to be very tight for Mac to make it within the time allowed. He's still got another jump left on the course, carrying 8 faults.
Expected to maintain a pace of 400 meters per minute, and he does so just about to the second. 87.23 on an 8-fault performance for Canadian Mac Cohn aboard El Lute.
Mac is also busy coaching a young up-and-coming rider, Mark Samuel, as well as giving American legend Leslie Burr Howard a hand back in the hitching ring. He's a busy coach as well as a top athlete. Here's a look at those planks. You see, he was quite a ways away from the takeoff point. I think if Mac could have gotten the horse back and done an extra stride or come very much forward and powerful and left the stride out, he'd have been in a better position for those planks. However, he leads the way.
He does on 8 faults. Mac Cohn back to the international warm-up area. We look at the 1992 Canadian champion, a man who in 1996 didn't live up to his pre-Olympic expectations. Mario Delorier of Bromont, Quebec, aboard the New Zealand-bred thoroughbred Amistad.
Well, this horse looks like a different horse coming out this year. His coat is shiny, he looks happy, he's got a lot of meat on him, and he's very fit. And last year, this horse did not look this good.
No, they had troubles keeping this horse sound in 1996, very untimely, but they've given the horse time to recuperate, and Amistad looks to be at the top of his game. This horse, Mario Delorier, knows the qualities he likes in an international horse, and he says that this 1982 model has all of those qualities, from the athletic ability and the character.
Ooh, gave him a great effort over the water jump there. Oh. And it's great to see Mario back in the swing of things like this. At 18 years of age, he was the World Cup champion on a great horse named Aramis. At 32 years of age, it's been a bit of a dry look at the sport for Mario. The last time he won the Canadian Championships was in 1992, so he's worked very hard at trying to get this horse back into top international competitive shape.
Well, very much a team sport, and Mario Delorier has been looking for that teammate to take him back to the top of the sport. He's on a clear round now. Time is marching on, however, just under our time allowed. A clear performance for Amistad and Mario Delorier, 87.84 seconds. He'll be happy with that.
Less than 20 hundredths of a second within the time allowed, but a clear round clearly tells the rest of the field that if they want to get in a jump off for this Canadian Pacific World Cup title, they'll have to come to the fore, jump a clear round, and force Mario into a jump off.
More of the Canadian Pacific World Cup after these messages. There's a look at one of the shining young stars in Canadian show jumping, the mare Pharaoh, with Jennifer Ramsey up in the saddle. Let's meet this young athlete from Ontario who's really raising some eyes.
At 27 years of age, Jennifer Ramsey is part of the next generation, quickly climbing up the ranks with her 9-year-old German warm-blood mare, Pharaoh. Jennifer bought Pharaoh in Germany as a 4-year-old, and for the past 5 years they have been gaining experience in the competition ring. 1996 was their first year at the Grand Prix level, and every time into the ring, they just seemed to get better. They ended the 1996 on a high note by winning the leading Canadian Rider Award at the Spruce Meadows Masters. Pharaoh and Jennifer Ramsey are names that could easily be listed for Team Canada in Sydney, Australia. Jennifer Ramsey and Pharaoh, they are the next generation.
The next generation is now at the center stage here, looking to perhaps challenge Mario Delorier at the top of the standards. This is an impressive horse, Nancy. Pharaoh, and Jennifer's riding has come on.
They are now legitimate international horse rider combination.
This mare has been incredible. We've seen Jennifer here at Spruce Meadows in the junior amateur division, the preliminary, up through the ranks of intermediate, and now bringing this horse in as a top international contender, which this mare definitely is.
Fitness level and endurance, never a problem with Pharaoh. You know, this is a pre-event favorite of our colleague Pollyanna down in the hitching ring. She'll be watching on.
You know, Ian, the only thing that I would question in terms of Jennifer's strategy, that is going to a hackamore bit. She's always ridden this horse with a traditional bridle, and now you'll see the mare is going in a hackamore. It's a little more difficult to turn, and I'm not so sure that this horse isn't starting to jump a little inverted as a result of the hackamore.
Touching down at the water there for 4 faults. Look at the rawness of this horse, though. She is just built to jump.
Power. You see where the hind end cut down there? This horse is worried about the hackamore and not really finishing the jump well enough. And Jennifer's getting taken a little bit out of the saddle. She doesn't have quite the right balance as a result.
A couple of technical problems, I suspect, coming into the water and then to the planks. 2 of the traps that Linda Allen has set out here for the less seasoned professionals.
It's just not looking quite as fluid as it has in the past, and I think something that Jennifer's going to have to sort out.
8 faults as they finish up in a time of 86.87 seconds. The time is very tight today on course here. She didn't waste any time rounding this track, but the planks in the water caused their difficulties.
Well, I think the planks are a very good example of what I'm talking about in terms of inversion. The horse normally bascules up in a nice big arc over the fence. Now you see how this horse's back is straight, dragging its hind end, and that is a result of being worried about the hackamore on its face. And there's a look at Jennifer's mom giving her a helping kick over the fence.
Nancy, will our next entry force a jump off? Perhaps a man considered the Ian Miller of the United States, Hap Hansen.
Well, he is a riding machine at 44 years of age. Hap has been pretty much everywhere on the planet, competing with top international horses. And the developer, a very interesting horse, a Selle Français, meaning that he's a French breed, a stallion, and seems to have everything that it takes to be a winner, and yet often will just do one small error that causes Hap a major championship. He's looking pretty good today.
Yeah, looking to find the quality to make the developer a closer, if you will, to be able to finish off all of the natural talent he's shown. A stallion that's very athletic with a great man in the saddles, one of the great names in American show jumping, Hap Hansen from Encinitas, California.
Hap, a very gentle man when you meet him, but he is lethal in his ability to ride these courses and understand the clock.
The developer with a double pump over that big Canadian Pacific oxer. Hap Hansen appearing to be in fine form, as is the norm here at Spruce Meadows.
Cut the corner very short there to that vertical, and an interesting route to take. And Hap is on a clear round. He's got 1 jump left, and Hap Hansen and the developer,
Goes to your point, Nancy. Unable to close coming into the skinny white vertical, the 13th and final obstacle on course, and down it comes for the Selle Français stallion. The developer, Hap Hansen, cool and calm as always.
I think Hap's going to be feeling a little cheated. He galloped to this fence with precision and accuracy, the developer letting him down, and they head back to the hitching ring with 4 faults.
Just 1 clear to date. Can anyone challenge Mario Delorier? Perhaps Jill Henselwood. She's on deck. She's our next to go. Let's meet this young star from Oxford Mills, Ontario.
For someone who did not enter the show jumping ring until she was 18 years old, Jill Henselwood has taken the sport up with a vengeance. Her first international team berth was in 1994 for the World Championship team that traveled to Holland. Jill is the consummate athlete. She is a certified track and field coach, but elected to put aside her running shoes for the competitive show jumping ring. 1997 marks the first year for Jill's 8-year-old Swedish mare Till Tomorrow in the Grand Prix ring. Early victories show Till Tomorrow has all the right stuff and looks promising today, tomorrow, and well into the future.
This young mare has shown a tremendous amount of quality in the early stages of her international career, and Jill Henselwood has been managing her along to hopefully one day carry the Maple Leaf into international competition. But now the job at hand, the Canadian Championship with Jill Henselwood.
At 8 years of age, this mare Till Tomorrow is quite young in the sport, so she's not quite ready to move on to the majors like the World Championships or an Olympic Games. But in terms of timing in the majors calendar, she's right on the money for Jill to have a horse for the Sydney Olympics. A little step at the water, barely touched it, as we've seen that happen before, so Jill's on 4 faults.
The water really playing a role this afternoon. It's the first time the horses have seen it all week here at Spruce Meadows, and some of them are choosing to drop their feet into it, incurring 4 faults.
And it's a wide water, 14 feet wide, so the horses have to gallop at it, and they don't have a big, long run to it. And there's the planks that also caught Matt Cohn and El Lute. So Jill Henselwood with Till Tomorrow, this promising young Swedish-bred mare, has 8 jumping faults.
And that will not get them into a jump off today. A foot in the water and a rail down for 8 jumping faults. A similar result to that incurred by Jennifer Ramsey aboard Faro. Now let's check in the international warm-up area with Pollyanna Hardwick-Brown.
Jennifer, a good round out there, 8 faults. What happened?
We just didn't get quite across the water, but I don't care about that at all because she was very confident and brave going to it, so that's fine. And then the planks, I don't know quite what happened. I think I felt like I was in the center and stuff, but I just would like to see the tape, I think, to see what happened. I don't know.
You happy with your day?
I'm thrilled with my day. She's been great. She's been great all weekend. I can't complain at all. She's been jumping wonderful, and it's been really good.
Good day anyway.
Yeah, thank you very much.
A look down on the sun-drenched stadium here at Spruce Meadows, and one of the great veterans we met off the top of the show, originally from the United Kingdom, now carrying the Stars and Stripes into combat, Tim Grubb aboard. The first of 2 for him today. This is Karas J.
This is the young horse, 11 years old, a Holstein breed from Germany. That's the province of Holstein in northern Germany, where this breed originates. And this horse shows a lot of potential. He talked about this horse being a bit shy in front of a big crowd in international competition. So he's talking to his horse, trying to get his attention.
This, interestingly enough, was the horse that Tim nominated or qualified with to go to the Olympic Games for the United States in 1996. Generally, it's considered that Alan Dennison is his top gun. So this horse definitely has the power and the ability to get the job done.
Tim's got a great round going here. You know, Tim has brought a lot of young horses to the Spruce Meadows tournaments and is actually on a layover. So he'll be stationed at Spruce Meadows for about 6 weeks, competing at the National. And a fence comes down there. And he'll stay on through the North American Championships. He says that he can teach his young horses more in the 6 weeks here at Spruce Meadows than a full season in the United States.
Well, it's a great place for young horses and young riders and veterans alike. Tim Grubb finishing up a late rail at the vertical, incurring 4 jumping faults. Tim Grubb finishes up his afternoon aboard Karas J. We'll see him a little later in our World Cup broadcast.
Great young horse.
There's a look at Matt Cohen talking to a great young rider, Mark Samuel, who's about to undertake his first Grand Prix here at Spruce Meadows.
Sharper at the butterfly option. Very good, Mark. Very good. Very good.
Felt like the program.
Yeah, excellent. How far off were you on the 9 after the triple bar in and out?
We were right there.
You were there.
Yeah.
Okay, super. Good. Looks good. Nice setup. Will be good for the bar now, huh? That was really good.
Riding's in my blood. As I said, I've been doing it since I was 4 years old, and my family's had an association with horses that dates back even before that, and it's what we do.
Let's do it skinny. Okay?
It's a great diversion as well as a passion for me. I work in the steel industry, 9 to 5, and run a public company. And it's nice to, frankly, have something that is completely removed from that. To compete at this level, you really have to be focused. And that's a little bit more difficult for me, given that I'm not here Monday through Friday, generally. The rest of the people that are competing at this level, it's their life and it's their career. And you know they're going to be ready every day. Bestseller, he's a 9-year-old Dutch warm blood. He was hurt for 1.5 years. We just had to be very patient with him and wait for him to heal and be ready to compete again. Started him back about 2 and a bit years ago now in the starter jumpers, and a year later he was back in his first Grand Prix. He's a wonderful horse. He's a consummate professional, and that's interesting to say for such a young horse.
Now I have Mark Samuel, who's beginning his international career and his debut, and he makes it fairly easy on me because he's a real cool customer. What do you want to make up at that speed? You don't want to be any closer than this anyway, do you? So, you know what I mean?
Mac, as a coach, comes to the game with a lot of experience. He's been in the international ring. He's represented Canada, he's represented the U.S. He knows how to analyze the course so that on the weekend both the horse and myself are ready to do what we have to do. Long-term goals, if I'm being honest, have to include the Olympics in Sydney. But there's an awful lot of steps between now and then. And there's an awful lot of young horses and riders, as well as the veterans out there that we're all going to be fighting for a spot.
The continuation starts right now for Mark Samuel to see if he's on his way to Sydney. His first ever World Cup qualifying Grand Prix here at Spruce Meadows aboard Bestseller.
Well, it's interesting that Mac and Mark decided to give this horse a day off. And for a young horse, whoa, he's a long ways away.
Kindling.
He just wiped out 3B. And now Mark is making a bit of a circle, see if he can get himself regrouped and reorganized to tackle this course. He's got a lot of jumps left to go in this Canadian Pacific World Cup course, and he's had a lot of trouble so far.
He's carrying 11 faults, plus the time will be marching on from his necessary circle he took to set up for the obstacle following.
I'm sure they're asking themselves now, perhaps questioning their strategy of giving this horse a day off. Yesterday, he was perhaps too impressed with this ring. 30,000 people here now, and this horse has not experienced anything like it, and nor has Mark Samuel, and perhaps they needed to just get in the ring and keep going yesterday, because things are coming apart at the seams.
But very much becomes a game of inches at the top of the sport, but those inches are critical, whether they be takeoff or landing strategy. And Mark Samuel at the in and out 3AB found out quickly.
But as Mark alluded to, there are many steps on the road to Sydney, Australia, and he is right now filling in some of the pages of the chapter in Bestseller's book. Mark Samuel finishing up with 22.25 faults.
19 jumping faults plus 3.25 time faults for Mark Samuel and Bestseller.
And here's a look now at what happened at 3AB, the combination. that caused them so much problem. He gets right underneath the wall. Bestseller jumps way up in the air, but he's a long ways away from B. But he makes a gallant effort. He tries for his rider, wiping out those planks or the gates on the 3B element. And that was the first of many troubles to come.
Mark Samuel finding out what many before him have, that there are many difficulties to negotiate over this course designed by Linda Allen. We look down on the international ring at Spruce Meadows, continuing our coverage of the Canadian Pacific World Cup, and on course next, Damien Gardner of Ireland.
Damien Gardner comes from the Emerald Isle, and although he resides in the United States, his roots are definitely Irish. And his Irish eyes are not just smiling, they've been laughing at the 1997 Spruce Meadows National. Damien Gardner is on a roll, having struck quickly with early victories earlier this week. Pignon Rastaman is a new horse for Damien, as an injury sidelined the horse for the entire 1996 season. But now he's back, and Damien thinks Pignon Rastaman may be the one to take him home for the World Championships in Dublin next year. And the flag he'll carry? No question, green, white, and gold.
Now looking to put in just the second clear of today's Canadian Pacific World Cup, Ireland's Damien Gardner firing up the Westphalian gelding Pignon Rastaman.
Well, he's on a winning streak, and what a competitor he is. He already won the Smirnoff Cup earlier today. And Damien Gardner has been unstoppable this week at the Canadian Show Jumping Championships. Quite a fighter.
He loves the going in the international ring here, Nancy. He loves galloping on the green turf. He loves the open spaces that allow him to give these horses of the Pignon farm a little bit different ride than they were used to in former times when Mark Laskin had the ride.
Well, he's really started to click with all the horses. He knows them well now, and they're responding to him. And he fights every bit of the way, doesn't he? He's always looking to get that last check in and make sure that his horse jumps the jump clean.
Of course, there's been a great tradition of Irish riders and Irish horses here at Spruce Meadows. Eddie Mackin, Peter Charles, last year's Du Maurier winner, and of course this young man, Damien Gardner.
Damien's had 8 horses competing at this national tournament, so he's been very busy indeed. And yet, you know, Ian, what's neat about this guy is that he's the first one here in the morning working his horses, and he's the last one to leave at night, taking his horses out for a bit of grass, and commanding a great deal of respect. And there's a clear round, and we have a jump off.
Well, he loves his horses, and there's no question why. They perform well for him. Damien Gardner of Ireland forces a jump off here at Spruce Meadows, putting in a clear round aboard Pignon Rastaman, allowing his partner now to have a little nip of the green on the way out of the ring.
Well, as Damien was heading into this weekend of competition, he'd already won $35,000. And here's another man that's won a lot of money at Spruce Meadows.
And around the world, Jan Tops of Holland, one of the top-ranked riders in the world, aboard a very impressive horse in Apparet La Silla. 2 clears to date. As Mario Delorier said, he wouldn't be surprised to see a few more clears, and this has definitely got to be one of the favorites.
A contender indeed. Ranked number 4 in the world seeding. Jan Tops came with his wife Tanny to compete at the Canadian Championships, and they brought their best horses.
Well, of course, he's been to 3 Olympic Games, finished in the top 10 at all 3, including scoring a team gold at Barcelona. And he's now on a clear round to date with this impressive mare, Apparet La Silla. It's interesting when you look at this course, Nancy, virtually every line has had an impact in competition today. We don't have a triple combination, quite unusual for a competition of this caliber, but the 3 doubles have really taken their toll.
It's been an interesting and challenging course to watch. Definitely challenging for the riders. Look at this short turn that Jan is making to ensure he's within the time allowed. Operette Lucia is a powerful mare. At 13 years of age, she's just coming into her prime. The Europeans always taking a little more time in developing their horses, and we have another competitor in the jump-off.
Mario Delorier will now be in tough in that jump-off as Jan Tops aboard Operette Lucia joins the ranks of the Faultless with a clear round, mimicking the efforts of Damien Gardner.
The planks there, Ian, you spoke about every place on the course having caused problems. There hasn't been a jump that hasn't come down at some point in time, and look at the sharp turn. Jan Tops had to give it a big effort to get over the V vertical, and he clears it with Operette Lucia. They move to the jump-off in the Canadian Pacific World Cup.
They make their way back to the international warm-up area to prepare for that jump-off. Jan Tops enjoying the conditions here at Spruce Meadows. Francie Stein-Waddell next to go. We met her off the top of the show. She'll be returning to defend her title in this event aboard her gray horse Sylvia. But first, she's aboard Atlas. Atlas, a new mount for Francie in 1997. This is a 12-year-old Holsteiner gelding, former mount of Alain Vaillancourt.
Very good jumping horse, but again, can't stress enough how much time it takes for the partnership to develop, and Francie hasn't quite had the amount of time she needs with this horse.
But you know what's great to see, Nancy? Francie Stein-Waddell wearing the colors of the United States team. She really, in the last couple of years, a little bit of a late bloomer, 36 years of age right now, but has got after this sport with a full commitment, and it's paid off with some great results and recognition.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see, Ian, because as you say, Francie was not a competitor that a lot of people gave a lot of thought to for quite a lot of time there. And now she has earned the stars and stripes on her jacket. And whilst Atlas has had a couple of rails here and a step in the water, he looks to be a promising young horse for Francie, and her best horse is still to come.
Well, and it's interesting, as we've seen so many times today, the chemistry of new horses, especially in a post-Olympic year where there's some free agency in the market. Some riders getting used to new horses and vice versa. Francie Stein-Waddell finishing up 87-12 the time on that round, but with the 3 mishaps on course, 12 jumping faults will not get them into our jump-off field today.
It's a bit of a pre-season type of atmosphere in the sport right now. As you mentioned, Ian, the post-Olympic year is where the riders will see where the horses may fall, and the horses will see where the riders may fall. Francie having 12 faults in that round.
And of course, a post-Olympic year means it's a pre-World Championship year, so a lot of these international veterans getting ready for next year's World Championships, and of course the Spruce Meadows Masters Tournament. One of those said riders is Harold Chopping, who we spoke of off the top of our program, with a new Russian-bred entry, a new horse to North America, one that's opened a lot of eyes in the last few days here. Sector 11 with Harold Chopping.
Just a young horse. Harold seems to get along with this horse very well. There was some concern that Harold was thinking about retiring from the sport last year, and he seems to have re-energized himself and found the motivation, and that comes along with the horse.
Well, no one could have blamed him last year, competing with a broken collarbone in the Olympic trials here, had a couple of nasty falls. He showed everyone just what kind of a tough individual he is by continuing on, but he's been looking for the mount that would replace his 2 great mounts, Notable and Aerobic, who he rose to international prominence with back in the late 80s, and perhaps Sector 11 is such a horse.
He certainly appears to be every bit the role to make it to the top, and very athletic horse, a lot of blood, very easy to get galloping forward. Ooh, right underneath the box, and he clears the water, but he was so aggressive there. Can he hang on to it? He does.
Harold could be onto something here with the Russian-bred horses, not commonly found in North America. If Sector 11 continues with what we've seen this week.
Do you think that that's indicative of the sector of Russia that this horse came from? A name like Sector 11.
Turning back towards number 11, the high white vertical, nicely negotiated.
Right now we have one Canadian, one Irishman, and one rider from the Netherlands. A delayed reaction. We were hoping to have two Canadians in the jump off for this Canadian Championship event.
A late rail there as it came down. The crowd moaned. 4 jumping faults for Sector 11 and Harold chopping. Time was not a problem. However, it prevents them from advancing to the jump off.
There's a look at the leaderboard. One Canadian only in the jump off and no Americans so far.
Perhaps the American with as good a chance as any is Tim Grubb, the Olympic veteran, with his great veteran horse, Elan Dennison. The Hanoverian gelding having a final perusal of the international arena here at Spruce Meadows as Tim Grubb buckles on the headgear. We saw him earlier with 4 faults aboard Karas J. This is a different make and model of horse, however, so he'll ride the course somewhat differently, I suspect.
Well, he calls this horse his dear old friend, and he knows this horse like the back of his hand. And you're quite right, Ian. It's a very different ride. His young horse has a lot more thoroughbred blood in him. He goes to attacks the jumps. Dennison, Tim knows how to get his motor revved, and they work well together.
Got through there with a little bit of luck, a light front leg rub coming out of the 3AB combination, but the KG veterans still in good form.
And that's the other great thing about a long-standing partnership between horse and rider. The rider knows exactly how much to push the horse and how much his horse will touch a fence to make sure he clears the back rail on a spread jump, for example. And Elan does just that. He touches a few, but never so hard that he really bowls them out of the way.
Well, a little bit like the great Big Ben, Ian Miller always said he knew how to touch the fences, and there at the planks, a little bit of a problem for our Hanoverian gelding, incurring 4 faults at the Maple Leaf.
Didn't quite know how to touch those planks. They are on absolutely flat cups, which means that if you push them a bit, they're going to fall off and cause you a knockdown.
Tim Grubb hoping that's the only rail so he can get in on some of the $60,000 in prize money today. He's made a long trip from Florida to be here. 84-40 and saved the Canadian flag planks. A very nice round for Elan Dennison and Tim Grubb as they finish up their afternoon's work. American Leslie Howard's horse Spleefed in search of an emergency manicure, and this is the place to go. Lance Sloman, the resident farrier at Spruce Meadows, tacking on a fresh shoe. Francie Stein-Waddell is the defending champion here at Spruce Meadows, and she's defending the championship in the World Cup with this great mare, Sylvia.
I was impressed when Pollyanna was talking to Francie earlier on in the hitching ring that Francie didn't appear to be too nervous. She seemed to be quite calm and quite realistic about her situation and understanding that her true competition is the course. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. You and your horse have to jump the jumps.
Right now she's working on a clear performance. If she posts a clear, she'll be the first for the United States to do so, joining Ireland, the Netherlands, and Canada in a jump off here, but there's plenty of jumping still ahead for Francie Stein-Waddell.
Well, Francie, as you had talked about earlier, Ian, has put in a lot of time. Look at this, riding through that combination without a stirrup, and Sylvia responding so well to Francie. This combination has worked so hard at bringing themselves to a level that nobody expected they could get to. And now, every time out, they are contenders.
The girls appear to be in good form today. Sylvia, a 13-year-old Holsteiner. Francie Stein-Waddell working on a clear round, now into the final 4 efforts.
Well, in fact, Francie's become one of my favorites. She has just buckling down and doing her job and not allowing distractions to get into her way. And Sylvia has jumped another clear round for Francie Steinwedel in the Canadian Pacific World Cup.
But she's done so slowly, Nancy, incurring time faults. That's a killer for our entry from La Cañada, California. 3/4 of a time fault, preventing them from advancing to the jump off to defend their title.
Oh no, you know, Francie just kept holding back all the way down that last line, just being so precise. She was too precise. It cost her the time. Ooh, and there was a funny jump.
Precise indeed for Hugh Graham and Undercover, the thoroughbred gelding, who he hopes to carry him to another success here at Spruce Meadows, a horse that we watched destroy the jump-off field earlier this season in London with a Grand Prix win. Now looking to get it right in the Canadian Pacific World Cup.
At 14 years of age, Undercover's one of the few thoroughbreds in the international ring competing here today. He's a neat horse. He's a real trier. And Hugh Graham, one of the most intense competitors on the circuit today.
He's always in the thick of things when the chips are down, and Hugh Graham now looking to see if he can send the Maple Leaf and join Mario Delorier, his countryman, in the jump off here at Spruce Meadows. You can hear him urging on Undercover.
He's talked to this horse just about at every single fence, either urging him on or telling him to whoa a little bit. Ooh, he just about ran into that flower box.
He's had this horse since he was 5 years of age. Now a great veteran combination, making their way towards the final fence. Time is not a problem.
Ooh, what a lucky wrap. That rail jumped right out of the cups. Hugh Graham and Undercover moved to the jump off.
My goodness, Hugh Graham got his lucky rub in today on the final fence. And he'll be thanking his lucky stars as he heads back to the international warm-up area to prepare for the jump off. And back in that warm-up area, Leslie Howard's horse Splift has had his horseshoe tacked back on. Our entry from Westport, Connecticut is ready to take on the challenge of the Canadian Pacific World Cup.
She is a fierce competitor. She has competed around the world. She has represented the United States in 25 Nations Cups. She has 2 Olympic medals and a World Cup championship to her credit. She is Leslie Howard, and she is without a doubt one of the top women athletes in the sport. Today, her horse of choice is the 8-year-old Dutch warmblood, Spliff. He has all the personality, the attitude, the feistiness, and the talent it takes to be a world-class athlete. It is a difficult name, Spliff. Practice now, because by the Sydney Olympics in 2000, it should just roll off your tongue.
Well, we'll see now if the pre-event billing of Pollyanna Hardwick-Brown delivers this Dutch-bred gelding and Leslie Howard to the jump-off. We'll see if she has the right stuff to get the job done today. As you can see, that front foot has been put back together nicely by the farriers here.
Now the question will be, as anybody knows that has torn a nail off or cut their nails a little too close, it feels a little different at the end of your fingertips, and that's exactly what this horse is feeling right now. A little different, shorter hoof and a little different nail position for the shoe. And we'll see whether it bothers this horse, Splift, which is short in Dutch for if you please.
And right now they're putting in a pleasing performance for the United States, looking for a clear round. Great athletic ability shown there through the combination.
Oh, it's a powerful horse, a powerful horse. And the way that it just churns at the ground, he just looks like a Lynn Swan in his former days as he just chugged down to the gold line.
Circling much wider than Hugh Graham did aboard Undercover. 40-year-old Leslie Howard getting ready for our final series of fences here. looking to put the United States into the jump off. 1 to go. Time looks to be okay, Nancy.
She does it. The United States have a competitor in the jump off of the Canadian Pacific World Cup, and what a competitor she is. The Predator, Leslie Howard, and Osteblieft.
What competitors they are, as that gelding comes in with new shoes to get the job done over a very demanding course. They head back to the international warm-up area now to prepare for a jump off. And it is elite company that has qualified to advance for the jump off here at the Canadian Pacific World Cup. Total of 5 riders from 4 nations, including American great Leslie Howard.
Great round out there. Probably a bit distressing with the chute coming off.
Well, it was mighty close. He had been standing there for 20 minutes with his foot up, and you think of all them tightening up and getting stiff, and I only had time to jump 2 jumps, and he jumped them great. So I went, well, let's give it a shot. And he was beautiful. Maybe I'll do this more often. Not the shoe, but standing for 20 minutes.
And your plans for the jump off?
Well, I'm just going to take a shot and, see what happens.
Well, best of luck.
Thanks a lot.
The Canadian Pacific World Cup served up all of the excitement and thrills we expected off the top of the show. Your take on the first round, John Anderson?
I thought the first round was really demanding. Fence number 5 sure caused a lot of problems. I know Ian would like to have another shot at it. And Beth Underhill, her horse was jumping out of the gym. Not a problem in the future. You love a horse to jump that big.
Jumped her right out of the tack. She'll be looking for some Velcro. And how about Francie Stein-Waddell, the defending champion, clear around the course, but incurring a few time faults.
It's tough as defending champion, especially since she was clean all the way to the last line. Coming home, it goes into riders' mind. You know you're clean. You got to make sure you got those last 3 fences. You ended up taking a little bit too much time, and it cost her on the clock.
All right, 5 entries did go clean. They mastered this course. Now it's time to reload, come back for the jump off over a much different track.
The track is a lot shorter. There's a number of turns, but for the most part, it's a little bit of the open gallop. My favorite, Operette Lucia.
Oh, my favorite's going to be Damien Gardner, the Irishman. He loves to gallop on this international ring here at Spruce Meadows, but I'm following that up, backing it up with Hugh Graham and Undercover.
Well, it was 2 years ago that Jan Tops and Mario Delorier gunned it out in a jump-off in this very event. I'm going to go with precedent and say Mario Delorier will gallop to victory aboard Amistad. We'll be back to check on those results right after this. Welcome back to Spruce Meadows for the jump-off action of the Canadian Pacific World Cup. We have been advised that Ireland's Damien Gardner will not advance to the jump-off. Mario Delorier will, however.
Mario Delorier and Jan Tops have battled it out before. In 1995, Mario Delorier was the best in the field.
Silence falls over Spruce Meadows as Mario carries the weight of this crowd, numbering more than 20,000 on hand in the pouring rain this afternoon now, as he comes into the combination.
Ooh, and he got very deep, rattled that rail on the Oxer, but that was a bit indicative of the way his first round went. He cannot afford a knockdown now. His time is slower than Jan Tops in Top Gun, and he's clear over that big red Oxer, 2 jumps left.
Got the Royal Bank signature Oxer, then the massive vertical to finish up. The horse is jumping well now. Mario will take his time to set up, but he can't be too much on the time. He's got to come in under our time allowed of 54 seconds.
And he nailed it. He got it.
Mario Delorier rising to the occasion in 1995, looking to do it again today. There are the stats for our jump-off course. Ideal conditions here in 97 as opposed to that rainy day in 95.
Well, and another fundamental difference. Mario Delorier in 1995 had the catbird seat. He knew exactly what he would have to do. Jan Tops had a rail down. Now Jan Tops is in that position. He'll have a chance to watch Mario and know how fast he has to go and whether he can afford a knockdown.
We should advise our viewers that Damien Gardner withdrew Pignon and Rastaman. He felt the horse was off a little bit warming up, not wanting to risk any injury, and Mario Delorier is in great shape now. 32-30, got lucky again.
Holy cow, did he rattle those Canadian Pacific rails at the Oxer combination? But he got away with it. There's the time, 32.30 seconds. Our next three competitors know what they have to do. No faults at all. And here's a look. Mario took off quite a ways away. Amistad kind of bellied out over those Oxers. Left them in the cups, however, and they lead the way, the Pathfinders, in this Canadian Pacific jump-off.
And the big threat now behind them. Jan Tops with Operette Lucia. Perusing the course, conditions ideal. 250 meters the length of the course, 38 seconds the time allowed. That should not be a factor with the players who have advanced. They are all sharpshooters and they're looking for victory today, and you can see it in Jan Tops' face. Trying to see where he can save precious time here in the jump-off while staying off the rails.
Both Mario Delorier and Jan Tops were on different horses in 1995 when they battled it out. Jan was on his gold medal horse from Barcelona, Top Gun. Now it's Operette Lucia.
Huge stride on this mare, great fitness level.
Very good turn to the Rainbow Butterfly Oxer. And this fence comes right out of the blue. It's a sharp turn to that vertical. It's a new fence on the course, and it caught Operette Lucia and Jan Tops. So, Mario Delorier
does it again, at least against Jan Tops. Still two to come. 4 faults on course for the great Dutchman Jan Tops with Operette Lucia. Check the time, 31:77.
So he was half a second faster than Mario Delorier. He, in fact, could have perhaps taken 2 strides in front of the fence he knocked down to set up a little better, prepare Operette Lucia. You see, he cut the corner right around that tree, and bang, there's a 5'6" vertical. Standing, staring you right in the face.
It's coming right out of the shadows, too. The horses have not turned that way through the shadows before. Again, their confidence and experience shining through. Mario Delorier can do nothing now but wait in the international warm-up area to see if he again reigns supreme in World Cup competition at Spruce Meadows.
Well, that's all he can do. And the course will test the next 2 competitors. There's his student, Amy Schaffmaster, as they watch on one of the fastest guns in show jumping.
Leslie Howard, having overcome all sorts of adversity in the first round with the horseshoe incident with her gelding, has now gone back to the original order of gold, as is dictated by the rules of our sport. She competed behind Hugh Graham in the first round because of the farrier situation. She's now back as our next to go, meaning Hugh Graham will be last in aboard undercover.
Pollyanna was telling me that apparently this horse, who she likes very much, can actually bow for a sugar cube. Now, he's not going to be bowing right now because Leslie Burr has got the afterburners turned on. Look at the fast speed they attack jump number 1 and turn to 2 with.
And that's where it could be won or lost. That's out of the pages of the Ian Miller book. Save the time to the first fence.
Oh, and the sharp turn to that new fence on the course catches up with Sublieft and Leslie Howard, and Mario Delorier is still sitting pretty in the clubhouse.
One thing's for certain, the Maple Leaf will fly over Spruce Meadows today as the only one that can catch Mario Delorier is Hugh Graham, but look at the time here, 30:92. Wow.
Well, that is blistering fast. And Sublieft has not had a lot of jump-offs under his belt, but I think Leslie could have given him a little better chance here. You can see he's right on an angle, coming around that tree, a 5'6" vertical, and a little bit too much to ask at that speed.
He just cut it down with the back end, and with that, cut out his chances of leading the victory gallop at Spruce Meadows today. Nonetheless, an impressive day for the young Dutch gelding.
And with that fast time, he beats out the Dutch rider, Jan Tops, who moves down a standing with Mario Delorier leading. Leslie Burr Howard of the United States in second place right now, and Holland's Jan Tops in third.
Our last entry on course now, the Thoroughbred Undercover with veteran Canadian rider Hugh Graham. We'll see if their World Championship and Olympic experience comes through here.
Hugh was pretty slow on his approach to jump number 1, but then seemed to pick up the pace. Can he get this jump done? Yes, Undercover clears it.
They won in a jump off earlier this season in London. Let's see if they have the right chemistry today.
You know, I think Hugh, though, on his approach to the first fence, lost so much time. Ooh, and lucky at the Canada planks, but he's a little bit slower than Mario to this point.
Yes, he is, but not that much. Look at the time, 32:47, 17/100ths, the margin of victory for that man, Mario Delorier. And his celebration is cause for despair for Damien Gardner.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, Damien, first you have to pull up your one horse and then your jump-off horse. What was happening?
Yeah, the Pinion Petrie, he seemed like he tripped in the warm-up area and he might have jarred his shoulder or something, and so I decided not to put him in there. And last night, when Pinion Rosterman was in the jump-off, he kind of pulled his shoe a little bit, and the vet reckons he bruised his heel after pounding on that ground again today. And he's not that bad, but he's a nice horse. I'm not going to run him in there just to hurt him worse. So hopefully by tomorrow he'll be all right.
What's that like for an athlete? Here you have your shot at it, and then in the blink of an eye, it's gone.
I know, the horse jumped so well in the first round. I was, very excited to get in and jump off and run around with him. He's a new horse to me. He's fun. And he's fast, and for that to happen, but that's life, right?
Well, and you have to be pleased with him. It was a good day.
Yeah, very good day.
And another person who's having a good day is Mario Delorier. He's standing by with Ian Allison.
Ladies and gentlemen, on a spectacular day for international sport here in southern Alberta, Canada reigns supreme in the Canadian Pacific World Cup. Mario Delorier, your champion. An incredible victory here today, Mario, against an extraordinary entry in the jump-off. Pressure, my goodness.
Well, first of all, I wanted to, try to go clean and put the pressure on the next one because I knew they could all come and get me. So I had a little rattle at A over here, but I think that brought me home. It was my lucky day.
It certainly was your lucky day, and your luck will continue now as I introduce you to the Chief Executive Officer of Canadian Pacific, Mr. David O'Brien, with a presentation and a few questions about today's competition.
Mario, congratulations. Let me start with the questions. The first one was over the water jump the first time around. How did you find that?
Well, I found it a little long on Amistad, but he's a great water jumper, so I felt comfortable with the distance. And it was a little tight for the triple bar after, but he jumped that fantastic.
It was your day indeed, and now it's on to the business of the winner's circle. Mr. O'Brien?
Well, it's my pleasure to congratulate you on a magnificent ride, or several rides as it turned out, and the result was very thrilling. And this is the first ever Canadian Pacific Cup, World Cup, and we're delighted that you won it and that I can now give you the check for $20,000 as the new champion. Congratulations, Mario.
Not bad for a day's work here at Spruce Meadows, ladies and gentlemen. Mario Delorier with the dividend. And now I would invite Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Delorier to hoist the Champions Cup. Your champion of the Canadian Pacific World Cup today, Mario Delorier of Bromont, Quebec.
Bravo!
It's time to look ahead. Time to roll up our sleeves. Time to get back to the things we do best. So when you're ready, RAM can help. Right now with Employee Pricing Plus, you pay what we pay and get 0% financing for 84 months and no payments for 120 days. And you have the option to buy remotely with RAM Click and Drive. RAM, helping you get back on the road with Employee Pricing Plus and 0% financing for 84 months.
Integrity, caring, agility, collaboration. Every day, our people go to work delivering inspired solutions in structures and logistics, electricity, natural gas, retail energy, and ports and transportation to homes, businesses, and communities around the world. Find out more at atco.com.
We hope you're enjoying watching the Spruce Meadows National at home. Did you know that you can also be shopping from home at the Spruce Meadows shop? We're available online, by phone for gateside pickup, and you can also make an appointment to come try on anything we have at the shop. Rima here's got on our most popular shirt with the traditional Spruce Meadows logo. We make this shirt in women's, men's, and also for the little ones in your life. The sizes range from extra small right up to 2XL. In the women's, it comes in the charcoal gray, the white with green writing, magenta pink, and also a Kelly blue. The men's comes in the Kelly blue, the white with green writing, and also the charcoal gray. And for the little one, we've got the white shirt with green writing, gray with blue writing, gray with green writing, and also gray with the pink writing. Give us a shout and grab yours today. This crew neck will be a staple in your closet. Pairs well with a pair of jeans or a pair of breeches. It's super soft and comfortable. It's been a hot little item for show jumpers locally. You can find it online. You can give us a shout. We can bring it to the gate for you, or you can come on in and try it on. For our 45th anniversary, we've brought out some 45th anniversary edition apparel. Brian and Morgan have on our unisex navy crew necks. They come in size small up to 2XL. And behind them, we have our long sleeves. Comes in forest green writing, pink, and the sapphire blue. You can also pair this with one of our show jumping hats. The Spruce Meadows shop proudly carries Asmar Equestrian. Both models are wearing the all-weather rider. Rima's wearing the most traditional jacket. It comes in a number of colors. It's water resistant and it has a bit of a lining for a little extra warmth. Morgan is wearing their seam seal jacket. It's 100% waterproof. It's ideal for staying dry well on your horse, as you can unzip the front and the back to make the jacket go over top of your saddle. This jacket comes in a number of different sizes and a number of different colors. Asmar Equestrian makes a sustainable logo tee, as Morgan has on here. It's made of 100% recycled polyester and has a USPF of 50. Asmar makes this in a wide range of colors that you can get year-round, and each season they come out with a new handful of colors. Morgan's paired this with a beautiful Asmar belt that is reversible and a vest that is flattering to any figure. She is also wearing a pair of tailored sportsman breeches, which we have just started carrying here at the shop. You'll find all of these items online, or feel free to give us a shout if you're not finding your size and we can special order it for you. If your friends and family haven't heard enough about your horses, this sweater will sure spike some conversation. For either the inner equestrian, the aspiring equestrian, or the girl that goes and rides her horse every day, this is the sweater for you. It's warm, it comes in quite a number of sizes. We carry it in aqua and navy. If you go on the website and don't see your size or the color that you want, give us a shout, we can special order it for you. Spruce Meadows carries something for the whole family. We have kids' clothes from casual right up to the show ring. We carry Hatley, Ariat, Horseware, Claudia Anderson, and our very own Spruce Meadows merchandise. We can also fit your kid for a helmet from toddler right on up to teenager. We also have a large selection of stuffies and toys, from the horse lover to the dinosaur fanatic.
Pure Leaf iced tea starts with the finest tea leaves. Carefully selected and slow brewed for a taste you can truly savor. We take our time, you take yours. Pure Leaf, real brewed iced tea.
School tours started almost the day that Spruce Meadows opened. I always felt that we should get young people involved because I did teach school for a short time, and during that time I thought so many of them do not know anything about agriculture. And so I thought this would be a great way to introduce the horse, our sport, but also the relationship also towards agriculture. So they started back in, actually, I met with the Calgary School Board in 1975 and talked to them about it, and they agreed that they would try to have grade 4, 5, and 6 come, and I would have the numbers and we could coordinate through the school board. I think that if we stopped and talked to families who are coming into Spruce Meadows now, I think most of those people, I would say, if you would say to them, how did you learn about Spruce Meadows? I would think 60–70% of them would say, I came here as a child and on school tours, and so now I'm bringing my own children. And the school tours was a wonderful opportunity to introduce people to Spruce Meadows.
My hope for the Leg Up Foundation is the sky's the limit, and that we can continue to grow, which it has each year, and to continue to refine its processes so that it is similar to some of the larger foundations that are very recognizable. The Leg Up Foundation started in 2015, and the goal was really for so many people that have given so much to Spruce Meadows, for Spruce Meadows to give back to the communities that it works in. And so it was a really important part for Spruce Meadows to be a part of helping these smaller organizations get a leg up. I think the Leg Up Foundation, the reward that we see are the smiles on people's faces.
The Leg Up Foundation started in 2015. Spruce Meadows has always given back to the community, but decided to formalize the process, providing an opportunity for different outlets. And the purpose is to strengthen ties in the community and help where help is needed. The Leg Up Foundation has 5 core values. They are education, community, health and wellness, sport, and agriculture. Getting to know the charities that we're giving to has been very rewarding. We have visited a number of them and seen their operations, and we have been able to give some of our checks at different events. So knowing that we have done good for the community and has been wonderful. We have given also to service dogs for 3 different charities. The service dogs are an immense help to the people that need them. With the growth at Spruce Meadows, the opportunities are endless for us. We have a new initiative with the Cavalry, which is a book written by Lisa Bowes called Lucy Tries Soccer. Lisa reads the book and the soccer players are introduced and come in, and the kids absolutely love it. They are encouraged to try soccer and they are encouraged to continue being more active, and it's been a big success so far. The Leg Up Foundation is very honored to continue the work that Mark Southern has done on the school tours. It is a wonderful program. It's been very, very well run over the years, and we're really appreciative of the opportunity to carry on with what she has started.
The Spruce Meadows International Ring is massive. It covers more than 4 acres and can easily accommodate 5 football fields. Part of its legend is built on the natural obstacles that are permanent fixtures of the Spruce Meadows Derbies. These include the open water, the road jump, the bank, the Liverpools, and the Devil's Dyke. Through the decades, each of these natural obstacles has played a significant role in the fortunes and disappointments of those who have taken them on.
I think there was a certain sense of relief for John and Beezy Madden when Judgment seemed to thrive in his debut in the International Ring at Spruce Meadows. But when it came to his first Spruce Meadows Derby, there were still some questions.
The natural jumps that you see, we get very little of that in our normal competition. You know, we'll get a water jump and a Liverpool, an occasional ditch, but never the Devil's Dyke and never the big bank.
And until you go through it for real, you never know what your horse is going to do and how it's going to react to it. And it takes a real strong horse, not only to get through it the first time, but to want to keep coming back to it.
In their long history, the Spruce Meadows Derbies have proven to be the ultimate test of international show jumping. Few horses in the sport, past or present, have been able to excel as both Grand Prix and Derby contenders. Those that have carry with them all-time great status. In June of 2001, Judgment was started in the Shell Cup Derby, the final event of the Spruce Meadows Canadian Open Show Jumping Championship.
It's Judgment Day at Spruce Meadows, not only for Beezy Madden and Judgment, but also for some of the best international horse rider combinations in the sport. Here for the final leg of the Spruce Meadows Canadian Open Show Jumping Championship, the most demanding leg, the Shell Cup.
Judgment found his comfort zone early over the kilometer-long track that asks every question of horse and rider. After descending the Spruce Meadows bank, Madden pointed the stallion to the Devil's Dyke. It was here that any hope of victory evaporated for the pair. Judgment crossed the finish line with a very respectable 8 faults to secure 3rd place, and his first of 26 Spruce Meadows medals.
It was an incredible score. To go in there and do that on a horse that you're unsure about the naturals, it's great. I mean, it was a really, really positive result.
He would not jump another Derby for 4 seasons.
It was determined by his ownership group that they were sitting on a very special Grand Prix horse, and very few horses in the world can thrive as both Grand Prix and Derby horses. So I think it was decided that the priority would be put on Grand Prix, and maybe for a safety basis and the fact that there's only so many jumps in a horse's legs, they would step away from the Derbies.
In the spring of 2005, John and Beezy were successful in convincing Judgment's owners, Iron Spring Farm, that the 14-year-old stallion was up to the challenge of the Spruce Meadows Derbies. Against a field that included some of the best in the sport, Beezy Madden guided the stallion into a jump-off against Brazil's Rodrigo Pessoa and Great Britain's Michael Whitaker.
Beezy Madden has gone into the ring. There she is aboard Judgment. This big Dutch-bred stallion will eat up the ground in here, whether or not he has the same speed as Laconda or Richmond Park, who will follow with Rodrigo Pessoa. We will soon find out.
She's down on the time, Ian. That's a tight turn to the double of Liverpool's. Does it help her?
Indeed it does. Look at that. Almost half a second faster, and that shows you the size of this stallion stride. She didn't look like she had the pace, but that's relativity at play for you. Rodrigo Pessoa, who's not known for letting up on the accelerator, will be last into the ring now.
Rodrigo scooting across the water. That's an even tighter turn into the final double.
No problems here. He's across the finish line. A look skyward to the scoreboard. Say no more. There's the champion of the Shell Cup Derby, Rodrigo Pessoa.
When you look at that jump off, the turn she makes to the double of Liverpool's right at the end, for me that totally underlined all the belief now they had in the horse. I think for the Maddens at that point, you got the sense, it's over. We don't even need to talk about this anymore. It's in the past. There's nothing left other than now to go jump and win.
It was victory for Pessoa, but vindication for the Maddens. Their belief in Judgment was awarded with a silver medal. However, there would be another chance to add a gold to their Derby medal collection.
Beezy Madden, for my money, one of the greatest of all time. Her Olympic resume, her World Cup resume, her championship resume, her resume alone at Spruce Meadows would put her in that category. Let's talk about her in Judgment for a minute. A horse that she was given to by the great Michael Matz, a horse that wouldn't jump water, a horse that went on to become one of the great Derby horses and one of the great Grand Prix horses in Spruce Meadows history, including his 2005 win in the CP International. But after that, 2007, Leopoldo Palacios was charged with freshening up the Derby courses here at Spruce Meadows, and he did so at the Spruce Meadows National. And that is when Judgment really showed what he was made of, with Beezy Madden, as they continued to write their legend as one of the greatest Derby combinations in the history of this venue. Becoming a speed legend here at Spruce Meadows. Ladies and gentlemen, for weathering the storm at Spruce Meadows today. It's the final day of the $1 million Spruce Meadows National Tournament, and with it, the crowning event of the Spruce Meadows Canadian Show Jumping Championship, the Nexen Cup. Hello and welcome to Spruce Meadows. I'm Ian Allison, joined by Linda Heathcott, and there is great excitement on the tournament grounds today, Linda, as we're about to unveil an entirely new Derby track here at Spruce Meadows, which in and itself is a fan favorite.
Well, Leopoldo Palacios has designed a new course for the Nexen Cup, but he's also kept with some of the traditions, one being the first jump is exactly the same, although in a different position. But the change comes at the Devil's Dyke. We used to see you come down the bank and head straight to the Devil's Dyke. This year, you're going to see the Devil's Dyke being jumped in the opposite direction.
Building on the proud tradition that spans nearly 20 years, we're in for great excitement today. You always love these types of competitions. What type of a horse does it take to get the job done?
Well, you need a very brave horse, but the rider also has to have done their homework. They need to make sure their horses are fit and ready for this length of course.
No rider in the world does his homework more than Ian Miller. He's the unprecedented leader here at Spruce Meadows with 6 Derby titles in his career. Earlier this week, you had a chance to catch up with Captain Canada.
Such an impressive result, and after the time allowed, a clear round for Linda Heathcott.
Ian, you have this fantastic resume, and still every day I watch you compete. You give a riding lesson to everyone around, and you seem to have a clear focus of the competition. How do you keep that going?
Well, when I started doing this, I've always loved horses. I continue to love horses, whether it's working with the young horses at home, loading one on a truck, working with the blacksmith, riding, training, teaching, all aspects. I just adore the horse, and I love competition. I love to play a game, as you well know. I mean, I'd compete with you about the length of the grass, betting on the length of the grass if you wanted. So you combine the love of horses with that, and you've got a real natural for me. And I love riding. I'm a constant student of the sport. When I'm always learning from my horses. I learn from the competition, the other riders. I watch them very closely, as I know they watch me, because it's the athlete or the person that will evolve in any sport that's going to stay with it. You stop learning, your days are numbered. You got to stay with the curve, and our sport is a different sport than it was a decade ago, and I presume it'll be a different sport in 10 more years, and I'll be a different rider and a different horseman in 10 years than I am now.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there 10 years from now.
Thank you.
Well, it's an anxious time for riders as they prepare to take on the Nexen Cup in the international warm-up area here. And there's a look at Kyle King of the United States, who jumped his first Derby here at Spruce Meadows as a teenager. He's now a seasoned professional, and he'll be riding a very, very capable stallion today named Capone.
Capone is a very athletic, very brave horse. He's the kind of horse that can really put you on the map at the international level, because he's got the ability to jump any course they build. I think the Derby really suits him. I can just pick up a big gallop, and last year I was a little bit slow, which cost me good prize money. I think if I would have been a little quicker, we could have got to a jump off. Now that I know him and he knows the ring, I'll probably take some angles and try to take a little shorter track around the whole thing. And I've had him for a solid year and a half now, and I think we have him pretty keyed up for this week. It's a hard week, so hopefully he's fit enough and feeling good enough, and I feel pretty confident this year.
1,100 meters of international ring awaits the top horses and riders in the sport. 19 numbered obstacles, 24 jumping efforts. The inaugural Nexen Cup is next from Spruce Meadows.
Without my horse, I am only a human.
You know, I've been in it so long, I can't do anything else. It's just one of those things, you know.
Without me, my horse is only an animal. Together, we will fight to conquer
Look at this.
And if I can put everything together and leave the jumps up, he's going to be hard to beat.
It takes two. It takes a team.
She stands at the gate today and she's trembling. She's like ready to go, ready to go. She's so intense, and I just trust him. I trust him so much.
The world's best teams in the Nexen Cup Derby.
The international ring awaits a first ever of sorts. Linda, the first to take on the all-new Nexen Cup here at Spruce Meadows, and that right goes to the Russian rider Lyubov Kochetova, who is at Spruce Meadows in preparation for her 2008 Olympic bid. This is a tall order for this rider as she embarks around this 1,100-meter track aboard her 12-year-old Danish warm blood. And let's set the scene on what lies ahead for this Russian rider.
Well, the course is fair, Ian. I walked it with Leopoldo and earlier in the day. It's a really nice course. It flows very well. However, I believe you're going to see, contrary to the old course, where we had a lot of clear rounds right to the top of the bank, I believe you're going to see faults all over this course. Every jump's going to come down at some point throughout the event.
Case in point there with obstacle number 5 coming down. As you can see, not a lot of pace with our first entry to go. Perhaps some nerves as the first ever entrant to take on the Nexen Cup.
Well, and the time allowed is 165 seconds, but I can tell you right now, Lyubov is too slow. Everything she's doing at the moment is backwards. She's really collecting her horse, slowing down everywhere, and that is not how to ride a derby course.
More than 30,000 sun-drenched fans here at Spruce Meadows as 9B comes down. And we are not even halfway through the course here. The Liverpool's coming at an earlier spot than the traditional Derby track here at Spruce Meadows.
Yeah, what is a bit unusual is we have jump number 7 is the water jump. Then you jump a vertical, jump number 8. 9A, 9B are both Liverpools, and 10 is another Liverpool. So a lot of water right up front. A very slow round, very cautious. And you know, the one thing about a derby course, if you have a brave horse, you have to attack it. You have to be aggressive and gallop around. When you can let your horses gallop and relax a little bit in their gallop and take a breather. But what I'm seeing with Lyubov is she's very controlled, she's very rigid and stiff at this moment.
The best view in the house, high above the bank here at the north end of the international ring as she gets down and sets up for the vertical again. A rather considered approach, not the way Leopoldo Palacios has designed that obstacle to be negotiated. Seems to be about survival right now for...
And you can see right now she's at the time limit. She's already gone over 165, so she's incurring a lot of time penalties at this point.
One time penalty for every 4 seconds or commenced portion thereof over our allowed time as she heads into the Devil's Dyke, jumping it in the opposite direction from tradition, and does it nicely. The Canada planks as she nears the finish line here. All too much time on course for our first entry. I'm sure will things pick up as we move through the order of go as Lyubov Kochetova of Russia finishes up with 30 faults.
The riders that are watching this are going to really want to study this combination to see how tight it is. And for Lyubov, it was very tight, so the riders are going to know that they want to come in really slow and create the energy for their horses. Lyubov took a little bit of an interesting trek after the bank to the vertical at the bottom. I've always said that the smoother you can make that and the more aggressive and in rhythm that you can come off the bank to the vertical at the bottom, the better chance you have of jumping it clean.
You raise a couple of repeating themes: rhythm, pace, moving forward, and a man that has done that so often here at Spruce Meadows. Richard Spooner will be next to go of the United States aboard the Irish-bred gelding Hilton Flight, 14 years of age. Very interesting horse. In my observations of this horse over the years, either right on top of his game or really has some problems to be sorted out. He sort of ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys. Let's see what he's got today for the Nexen Cup.
But overall, Hilton Flight has been a terrific horse for Richard, and the biggest thing, he's an interesting horse because he has a really high gallop stride with his front legs. He almost looks like a hackney or a parade horse. A well-matched team. Richard is very comfortable on a Derby course. He knows he's trained his horses over the waters, over the ditches, and he is a terrific rider to stay on that pace that we're talking about.
Much quicker pace with Richard Spooner than we saw with our leadoff rider. We'll get a sense now of how the time will measure up. Horse and rider expected to maintain a pace of 400 meters per minute over this 1,100 meter course. 165 seconds the time allowed.
I still have to say, I really like the feel of this course. It's very smooth. The horses and riders can really gallop and roll back to the jumps. I really like it.
Well, the second time we've seen the B element of the Liverpools come down, so they have yet to be negotiated successfully.
What appears right now is that for that combination 9AB, you have to slow down and take your time there so the horses don't jump too far into the combination, because that's very steady.
Don't expect to see a lot of clear rounds, if any, today in the Nexen Cup. It simply is not the way that Derby championships are typically awarded. In the past here at Spruce Meadows, we've jumped off with 8 faults to determine a Derby champion. So to the top of the bank we go with Richard Spooner on Hilton Flight.
A very solid performance so far. He's got 8 faults, but his horse is jumping well. And this is the point where Lubov was 165 seconds. Richard is 30 seconds underneath that at this point. So you can really tell the difference in the pace that he's carrying. Now, I find this interesting. Both horses so far have jumped the Devil's Dyke clean, and we always see a lot of problems at the Devil's Dyke.
Former times it was the death knell for many of the top horse rider combinations. The Canada Planks continue their tradition, but Richard Spooner goes to the top of the standings with 12 faults, and I'm sure that will hold up at or near the top throughout the course of today's competition. Terrific trip aboard is 14-year-old gelding.
Here you see him coming down the bank. I like this ride. Smooth, straightforward, and his horse jumps it well. The Canada Planks comes down right there. A little bit of a domino effect.
And of course the noise those planks make falling behind has to be disconcerting for the riders. There's a look at our leader.
And what the riders are going to say is Richard's a pretty fast rider. He's 163.7. So the riders know they have to stay a little bit on the pace and make sure that they're under that time allowed.
Jill Henselwood delivers the Cavaliers' salute to Charlie Fisher, President and Chief Executive Officer of Nexen, who's watching activities from the center of the International Stadium today, amongst about 34,000 show jumping fans enjoying the inaugural Nexen Cup. Jill Henselwood, another accomplished Derby rider, aboard Black Ice. We'll see Jill twice today. She's got Black Ice and her veteran gelding Special Ed slated to start today's competition.
Jill Henselwood, canadiense con Black Ice.
Jill, another very good Derby rider, staying on the pace.
The fans are really interesting at Spruce Meadows. They love this type of event. They love the natural obstacles. They cheer for every rider. They know it's horse and rider against the course.
You know, and we have such a well-educated fan base here at Spruce Meadows. It's wonderful to see them, and they understand how difficult it is for these horses to jump some of these obstacles.
Well, let's see if the double of Liverpools is negotiated successfully for the first time. Front rail again.
Very, very difficult combinations. The horses are jumping in too far, and that one gallop stride is too tight for them, and they're really pushing B out. The riders are going to have to learn from those mistakes and come in even slower.
Around behind the bank, making sure not to have a lazy rail at that little vertical that is the invitation to head up the bank. That's the 13th obstacle on course as they now head down.
Again, I really like the approach to the vertical. She just stayed soft and stayed in the rhythm. I love that ride.
Sitting on 4 faults across the road jump for a second time. Keeps it at 4. There's a first. Jill's got to keep the motor running here. 2 big obstacles left to finish up, and time is marching on. Across the finish line, 8 jumping faults, and that's cutting it tight, Linda. 4/100ths of a second to spare.
Very tight. You know, and you could really tell at the end of this course, Black Ice was laboring. His gallop didn't have as much quality in it, and this is where she started to have some problems. Look at how far in he jumps. And he's so tight to the second obstacle, he really can't get out of the way of it. A light rub there, but what I do like about the Devil's Dyke this time is the horses are jumping it really nicely. You know, they don't seem to be stuttering off the ground. They're taking a clean jump in, and I don't see the Devil's Dyke as causing as many problems as we've seen in the past.
Well, there is the leader at Spruce Meadows, sitting on 8 faults. Canada's Jill Henselwood aboard Black Ice. Canada's John Pierce next to take the Nexen Cup. John Pierce, the veteran from Stouffville, Ontario, has represented Canada in 2 World Cup finals and was a very important member of the 2006 championship team in the BMO Financial Nations Cup here at Spruce Meadows. First time in 31 years that Canada had laid claim to that Nations Cup title, and John Pierce, very much an important player in the effort that day.
I have not seen Archie Bunker jump a lot of natural obstacles, but I have to say, this is a typical Derby horse. A big, rangy, galloping horse with a lot of power, and I believe he's got the stamina to do it.
He certainly continues to impress us wherever we watch this 8-year-old gelding compete. Not even in his prime yet. Jumping Nations Cups as a 7-year-old. And had a very successful winter season and has not let up a bit in the early going of the international tour here at Spruce Meadows.
For a lot of our fans, I have to tell you, it is a beautiful day here at Spruce Meadows. It is sunny, beautiful weather. Quite unusual, and John Pierce gets through the Liverpools.
He's enjoying the sunshine on the international ring right now, sitting on a clear round. 8 faults leads the way. He's got a nice pace going.
70 in the medium time. The key here is
Rubbing the jumps a little bit, you can hear that tick-tick. That doesn't count. It's not a problem. But what it is going to indicate is the horse is getting a little bit tired. John's going to have to get to those jumps and really try and liven this horse up.
A little bit early for the lead legs to be settling in, especially on an 8-year-old horse, although he's been involved in the Canadian Championship here at Spruce Meadows throughout the week, so this will be his 4th time into the International Stadium. Oh, problems at the bottom.
Oh, that was pretty quick. He addressed the jump, it looked like he didn't stop. I don't know what the judges are going to call, but then he moved over and jumped the jump at the other side. That's quite interesting. We'll have to see whether the judges call it as 4 faults as a refusal or whether they're going to say he's clean to this point.
Archie Bunker pulls a meathead move at the bottom of the bank, but a little quick thinking, and they veer off to the right. Now the Devil's Dyke, causing problems for our entry from Stouffville, Ontario. Time marching on pretty well here too as well, Lindy. They will not get in under the time allowed, and the judges have 12 faults up on the board, so they did in fact score that a refusal at the bottom of the bank. 1 time fault added, 13 the final score for Canada's John Pearce. I'm sure he'll question it.
Here's the dry ditch. Light rub there. You can see it rolling in the cups, but it stays in. Great camera angle. And now let's watch this. Comes down the bank. John clearly goes straight forward. Archie stops. And a very sneaky move by John Pearce. He just slides the horse over, keeps galloping. But the judges have said that he addressed the jump and didn't jump it, and therefore they're assessing him with a refusal.
As we turn our attention now towards Audra Fleck-Schneiders of the United States, living on the West Coast just outside of Seattle, and she's aboard Rainland Mel. Rainland Mel is a horse that she's brought on, I guess, through the farm system is a good way to put it. 13 years of age now, and I would suspect this is the biggest test that this Dutch warm blood gelding has ever faced.
A little bit erratic in her ride at the moment. She needs to settle down. You know, the horse looks a little frantic. And Audra, of course, doesn't have a lot of experience in jumping this type of a competition. So she just needs to take a deep breath because she's sitting on a very strong and brave horse, and then it should happen for her.
It's a fine balance, I suspect, not wanting them too fresh coming into the stadium, yet also needing to have enough endurance to get around the track. Ooh, poor effort at the water. I think it surprised both Audra and Mel. And the Liverpools take another victim. So the water obstacles thus far, the only areas of problem for our entry from the United States. No problems with that Liverpool, however. It's a lot of touching for not bringing down that obstacle. Mel's using the braille method now on the middle portion of this course.
But even when you see this horse jump, you know, I think it's just a little bit frantic at the moment. The picture for me would be better if she was just a little bit quieter. Nice ride. Oh, and we can talk about that. There's a little piece of brick that's on the corner of the Mount Rushmore wall, and actually, if they knock that off, because it's within the flags, the red and white flag, it would be 4 faults.
Sneaky little maneuver by Leopoldo Palacios. He pointed those out to us this morning during the course walk, that he was wondering if the riders would see them, if they wanted to jump off to either the right or left-hand side of the wall. Gain the Devil's Dyke, taking another victim.
This horse is just a bit tired now.
28 faults laboring over the final fence, right on the time allowed, and actually with a commenced second to the 1,000th, we will see a time fault addressed, and that will take our final score for Audra Fleck-Schneiders and Rainland Mel to 29 faults.
Here's the water jump. She gets there just a little bit backwards with her hand, and the horse doesn't jump up and out and over the water jump, goes right in it. The Devil's Dyke now causing some problems for our riders. The last few have had A and C. But basically the Devil's Dyke is jumping well.
Well, a couple of tired soldiers being rewarded on their exit from the stadium. John Anderson knows what it's like to be successful in this ring, in this type of event. Two-time winner of the Chrysler Classic, held at the Spruce Meadows North American. Today in the inaugural Nexen Cup, Canada's John Anderson will be taking Jacine around the track. Maybe not the typical type of Derby horse we've seen him on in the past, but nonetheless he has great confidence in this 12-year-old Hanoverian mare.
What I found interesting when Audra left the ring, she said he didn't have enough at the end. So what is that going to tell a rider? What that's going to tell them is they've got to get their horses fitter if they want to jump this type of course. So they have, they don't get to the E point on the tank towards the end of the course.
It's a bad place to be. You can see some of the veterans realizing that if you have that fitness level, make the time up early in the course so you maybe get a chance to catch your breath in the latter stages. John Anderson pushing on now.
And even though, Ian, I really like this course about how it flows, I am noticing that the jumps come up quite quickly. You know, the riders don't have a lot of gallop rest time, so they need to make their turns a little bit tighter so they're not expending the energy.
And as you say, the turns, there are quite a few turns on it. There's no wide open spaces, and they have to be able to turn both ways. John Anderson with a masterful ride with the help of his voice through the Liverpools.
And a terrific use of his voice. You know, you could hear him say, whoa. He understands that that combination, you have to ride slow. That's a careful combination.
See how he handles the dry ditch here. It has caused problems. Not today.
And if John is persistent, he can really turn this horse into a special Derby horse because she's brave, she's got all the power and the scope. And where he sometimes has trouble with her, you can see in her gallop stride, she wants to switch the gallop stride, she wants to counter. But in this type of a course, it doesn't matter.
It's a shorter stride, so he has to keep on the throttle. Not quite the ground covering stride we see from some of the Derby horses. And
got a bit left behind, lost his stirrup here. John, you need to get your stirrups. He's looking for that stirrup.
Bad situation to be in. Seems to be back on track now. Just carrying 4 faults at this stage as they head towards the Devil's Dyke.
Yeah, and a little bit disconcerting for the horse. So now John needs to settle her down for the Devil's Dyke.
They didn't seem to set up properly there, but they buy a break on the way out.
Absolutely.
It's 1.46 departing the Devil's Dyke, but you're jumping uphill, so it jumps much higher than that as the Canada Blanks come tumbling down.
Again, I'm seeing a horse that's a bit tired. John needs to know that he has to get her a little bit fitter before this type of a course. And the other thing is that I think she got a little bit mad at him when he was fiddling around with his stirrups.
Yeah, a little fussy after he lost his stirrup. Here's their effort coming out of the bank.
Got a bit left behind, and there you go. He loses his stirrups. She just didn't quite get a clean enough shot in there. But I think John's going to turn this into a special Derby horse.
Finishing up with 18 faults, so that shorter stride catching them on the clock. 16 jumping 2 times for a total of 18.
Thank you. So everybody over here, you guys are going to start.
Not only are the horses huffing and puffing coming out of here, that'll give our viewers a sense of how demanding it is for a rider. There's a lot to do out there, isn't there?
There really is, and you know, the riders have to be very conscious of being fit and ready, and the horses have to be ready for this course. It is a long, demanding course, but I think Leopoldo Palacios has really built a course that's fair.
Well, here's one of the Derby veterans of Spruce Meadows, Rich Fellers, who knows what it takes to win, knows what it takes to the wave going in the background right now. You can hear the fans. Surfs up for our rider from Wilsonville, Oregon, and he knows what it takes to make a successful Derby horse, and we'll find out what kind of work he's put into Flexible as they debut together in the international ring today. 34,000 fans here getting it going, Linda, in the international ring. Maybe Rich wanted them to quiet down a bit.
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying to us. But the crowd also needed to get up off their feet and cheer.
Spectacular conditions, waiting for the first historic clear round. We have yet to see it. Perhaps it's the 11-year-old Irish-bred stallion Flexible with Rich Fellers that has what it takes.
What I like about this horse is he's very athletic, almost like a rubber ball. Different than some of the power horses that we've seen jump this course and win this type of an event. This horse has the agility, so you know, it's a balancing act. Is this a better mount to be on, or one of those big powerhouses?
Well, it's if that shorter stride can eat up enough turf in the time allowed as well over this 1,100 meter track. So far, looks like energy is not a problem.
Great ride there. You know, and right away our crowd knows where the trouble spots are, and it's the first time we've had this course unveiled to us, and immediately they know.
Well, as its tradition builds over the years, you'll see the fans arrive early to the spots they like watching the Nexen Cup from. And early on, it appears the Double of Liverpools has become a fan favorite.
Oh, he's coming over way on the side. A lot of gallop strides there. Oh, and he gets through. Very zigzaggy along here. How Rich is, wouldn't be my choice of route to go.
Fortunately, it's a small horse, so it fit in the area a little more comfortably than some of the larger steeds we'll see today. Rich is on a very nice round heading towards the Devil's Dyke.
He's clear to this point. I mean, if he can jump this Devil's Dyke, I think we may have our first clear round. Oh, he's riding in hard, and he misses. He gets through. Oh, now that is persistence.
That's function over form. I'm not sure he'll want the video on that in the end, but to come through that with only 4 faults, let's see if they can get organized now. My goodness, what a piece of horsemanship and athletic ability by this stallion.
Oh my goodness, what a terrific ride. 4 faults just under the time allowed, and that was some ride through the Devil's Dyke. I don't think I've ever seen such a thing.
He stuck to it. He was not going to get trapped in there, knowing how hard it is to get out if you have a refusal. Rich Fellers shows us what he's made of.
Here you see him coming down the bank, and this is where it sort of starts going astray for him. He chooses a different path, and he's zigzagging all along here. Let's watch the Devil's Dyke. He misses a bit coming in, 2 strides, goes to the whip, up and over, 2 strides again. Persistence prevails.
Well, it'll be a day he long remembers, much like it was in 2004 when aboard McInnes, Rich Fellers provided us all with a memorable Rolex moment in time.
I remember that week clearly when the start list came out for Sunday's Derby. There were a lot of people kind of surprised that this Section 1 horse, McGinnis, was entered in the Derby, and he's a small horse, jumps with a lot of heart, doesn't have maybe the power of a lot of big horses, but he's a real trier. Sliding down the hill for his first time, I mean, he kept his composure and a short little turn to the big vertical before the dike. He was very focused and jumped really well there. And then coming into the dike, everything felt good. And he just made the typical mistake of an inexperienced horse. And I think he looked down through it a little bit and just with one front toe touched the rail and had that down. 2 rails down for him in his whole career is a lot. And he just, jumped his guts out all the way to the end. I don't think he rubbed another jump after that. He tries so hard every time he goes in the ring. It's just, it's a special feeling, and like I say, a really, really special horse. I've never had one like him, and I probably never will have another one like him.
The inaugural Nexen Cup from the Spruce Meadows National unfolding under ideal conditions. Rich Fellers of the United States leads the way. We still have plenty of horsepower to come in the international ring here at Spruce Meadows. Here's another very successful international rider from Westport, Connecticut, 2-time Olympic medalist, multiple-time Derby winner here at Spruce Meadows, including last year's Chrysler Classic with this Dutch-bred gelding Joop. Leslie Howard. Now, Leslie's got a bit of a handicap today. She's riding with a freshly broken arm, Linda.
Well, and my endearing comment to her is that I call her a bit of a loon. She is a tough lady and such a fierce competitor. She gets these little sparrow eyes of laser beams on her, and she is not giving up for nothing in the world. She broke her arm on Friday. She rode with just a splint on. She did go and get a cast on. She's not happy with the way they've casted it, however, because it is impeding her hands holding onto the reins.
Doing all this while still having to be fully compliant with the FEI rules on medication, so painkillers aren't in the factor, just ice. And she is something else. Mind you, we've seen her compete with an IV bag before too, so she is a tough competitor. And that's the reason that she's won a couple of Olympic medals, over $1 million here at Spruce Meadows, and a World Cup title in her illustrious career. She'd be the first to tell you that this horse doesn't have all the scope in the world, but he's got big heart and great fitness.
And he does jump these courses very well. She does have 4 faults already at an unusual. The Oxer came down at that combination. But Leslie, she's a fast rider. Her horse is brave. She knows how to ride the Devil's Dyke. What she's thinking in her mind is, let's just keep this at 4 faults.
And hope I can cope with my arm pain.
Love the ride. Took 1 gallop stride down at the bottom of the bank. This is an amazing feat for Leslie with a broken arm, riding so aggressively.
Having to have those reins between the fingers that are still very swollen. And she now has to set up for the Devil's Dyke. This will be problematic, I would think. Oh, 2 rails at the Devil's Dyke, so they're sitting on 12.
Watch Joop's gallop stride. It's a bit labored, and watch his head. He really is lowering it, not the level that Leslie likes for this horse, and we're seeing some fences come down. To me, it's fatigue.
Running out of gas a bit, and that combined with some of the other handicaps we were speaking of with Leslie's broken arm delivers a scorecard they're not accustomed to seeing here at Spruce Meadows.
First time we've seen this jump come down, A of the combination. You just got a little bit flat and ran through the front rail. And right there, you saw his head go down, then up again. She didn't have the quality of gallop stride. It looks like she also might have lost a shoe there. So problems in the Devil's Dyke, and then the end of the course also caused Leslie some problems.
A tired and sore Leslie Howard leaves the ring. Rich Fellers of the United States leads the way, and he's standing by with Shayna Nakoni.
Rich, you're the new leader of the all-new Nexen Cup Derby. Tell me, what did you think of Flexible's performance?
Well, he was special. He was spectacular. He's a brave Irish horse, and that gives me a bit of an advantage because Irish horses are, I mean, they're traditionally known for being incredible Derby horses. But you never really know until you try it, and he's never done a Derby or a Section 2 class, a meter 60 class. So it was asking a pretty big question, and he answered really well. I was very pleased.
A great baptism in the international ring for Rich Fellers and Flexible. Great to have the veteran ride up top, though, when you're debuting, and Rich Fellers has a lot of miles in this ring, as does this next rider, Mario Delorier, great Canadian veteran aboard Paradigm. But I believe this to be Paradigm's first Derby event at Spruce Meadows.
Another big rangy horse, different model than Flexible with Rich Fellers. A lot of power, a lot of scope, big gallop stride. And if Mario can ensure that once he opens his gallop stride out that he can get him back, then I think this horse has the chance of jumping a clear round.
We know about the power this horse has, having watched him jump to the bronze medal at the CN International a couple of seasons ago, and then having dominated the U.S. Grand Prix Tour this past winter. Now it's whether or not you can jump the back-to-back courses, because essentially you have 2 Grand Prix courses on course here with the number of jumping efforts.
That was a great ride from Mario because this is a big horse and with a big gallop stride.
Set him up perfectly for the double Liverpools and then nicely over that single Liverpool. It's really the water section of the course here. A little dodgy there around the flowers.
Ooh.
Bought a break there.
Clear to the top of the bank. We haven't been able to say that too often today.
See what approach he takes to get out of the sea of white rails at the bottom. Bit of the British approach, jumping over the tee to impress Paradigm.
Mario is riding quite cautiously, but really studious. You know, he's studied every jump, he's setting up. Now he just needs to make sure he sets up properly for the Devil's Dyke. And here we're seeing a counter canter coming in. I didn't like the approach. Mario needed to come farther over and set that up. That's where he needed to be careful.
Well, and given the lack of Derby experience Paradigm has, we're seeing it catch up a little bit now, related to the Devil's Dyke, as the last 3 obstacles come down, having been
That is just heartbreak.
sitting on a clear round the last 100 meters or so, and then 3 rails, 12 faults. Mario Delorier in a little bit of disbelief right now.
Again, I believe a bit of fatigue, but right here he's fighting with Paradigm. That's what I talked about right from the get-go. He's got to be able to settle this horse down. In he has, gets lucky coming out, and then he does an inside turn to the plank. High risk position for him to get into. Has the Canada planks down, and then heartbreak having the last jump down. You can see he's quite disappointed with himself.
The tongue hanging out. That's a tongue-wagging round for Paradigm, and they both get to catch their breath now. And we've heard about the Irish horses. Rich Fellers talking about what great Derby horses they make. Now we have an Irish rider, so you can guarantee that Derek Cairns grew up charging across the fields of Ireland. I'm not sure his Argentinian-bred gelding Hot Wheels will have the same experience, however. First-timers in the Nexen Cup.
This horse is built a little bit like Rich Fellers' horse. Smaller model, a little bit feistier. as opposed to the big models we've seen with Mario Delorier or Leslie Howard or John Anderson. First time we've seen that jump come down. I love courses where not one jump is the bogey jump.
So far, every portion of this Nexen Cup has proved to be a challenge and has offered some faults, as we're watching Ireland's Dara Cairns on course now. 4 faults leads the way. We've seen the water play a role today, not with this entry, however. Ooh. Not much effort coming in there.
No, the horse jumped about 2 feet high. Already this horse is looking labored in his canter, in his demeanor. So he isn't even at the halfway point.
Head starting to drop a little bit, as you've observed with a couple of other entries. Not this early in the course, however. Looking for a horse at the top of the bank. We'll try this camera. There we go.
Oh, sliding with his back feet down the bank. Nice ride at the bottom. I liked that. He stayed very patient, was calm about it.
Bit of a smirk on Dara's face there. Maybe he enjoyed the slide down the bank too. Gonna need some more impulsion than that. They didn't look like they had all that much interest in going into the Devil's Dyke.
No, everybody else has sort of fought with their horses and tried to set up, even if it didn't work out for them. And Dara just was very casual about it.
Not the second time, however, but time is marching on. We're into time faults now, of course. They will be added on to the jumping faults as our Irish entry approaches the finish line. Fatigue setting in, time marching on. Not a good combination as they finish up with 35 faults in total. 35 faults for Hot Wheels and Dara Cairns.
Here you see the problems beginning at the white combination. You know, the horse barely even jumps it. And to me, this was a rider error. He needed to be more aggressive, just like on the second turn. But the first turn, he wasn't aggressive at all, and then he had the stop.
It takes a fit and powerful horse to succeed in the international ring today. Canada's Mario Delorier has just completed his round aboard Paradigm, and he's standing by in the warm-up area with Shayna Nakoni.
Mario, Paradigm gave a solid effort today and finished with 12 faults. What are your thoughts on the round?
Actually had a good round. Started out great. He was going on beautiful, and then coming to the Devil's Dyke, it was his first time jumping it. So we can forgive him about that. And I came around, I turned inside for the plank for the time, and I got a bad distance. I was a bit far away, and then again far away to the last. So the last two were so-so. I could have done better there, but in general, I thought he jumped beautiful and gave a great effort.
Well, Mario, basically supporting what you were saying, Linda, that ran out of a little steam in the last 100 meters, and the Devil's Dyke was a new experience for him, but they'll build on that and return for the Chrysler Classic later this season at Spruce Meadows. Returning for his second trip in the international ring today, John Pierce, another Canadian rider who earlier aboard Archie Bunker had an interesting set of events unfold at the bottom of the bank. He's now returning with his 10-year-old Belgium warm blood gelding, Urioso. This is John Pierce. Are there lessons learned the first time out?
Well, two things. I mean, of course, the fatigue can also fit in for the rider. You know, he's ridden this course once, so he's tired. But also, John has now ridden the course. He knows what's expected. He's going to have a different strategy and plan coming down the bank because that was his problem area. And always with horses, each horse is different. And Urioso almost fell on his face right at the bottom of the tabletop, just the way he landed, too heavy on his front end. So John's going to make sure he needs to stay a little bit behind the motion when he comes down the bank.
Well, this horse does seem to be jumping a little bit tippy in the front end right now.
Different type than Archie Bunker as well. You know, Archie Bunker, a big galloping horse. This one a bit smaller and looking, you know, just a little bit more agile.
Just barely clearing the lathe at the water jump there. John Pierce had 13 faults with his first horse on course, Archie Bunker, 12 jumping and 1 time. So he'll try and keep his motor running. Picking up 4 faults at the A element of the Liverpools, 9A.
Now let's watch how he comes down the bank this time. Oh,
sneaky
so
peek.
His horse stuttered, but he kept the forward motion going. Now he's... Oh, and straight on. Very well ridden.
Ooh, that's a pretty hefty rub at the top of Mount Rushmore, but the top shelf stayed up. No faults there. Carrying the 4 faults from the Liverpool combination, but now the Devil's Dyke catching up with John Pearson. Ooh, quickly as that, you move up to 12 faults.
You know, you really see it right away at the Devil's Dyke. If they stutter off the ground at A, or if it's not a flowing motion, that's where the horses get into trouble, and that's when you see the fences come down.
And he really hasn't wasted a lot of time on course, and he's going to incur time faults plus an additional 4 jumping faults. So it was going rather well until the Devil's Dyke, and then as quickly as that, 17 faults for John Pierce with his second entry in the Nexen Cup.
Let's watch the takeoff point for Urioso here. See the stutter just ever so slight, causing problems at A. Then he tries to make him gallop out 1 stride, chips in, 8 faults right there. And then, unusual, John rides this jump at an angle, which makes it even wider. It's 1.85 meters wide. It's 1.6 high. A massive jump. When I rode, those were condominiums.
Well, Ian Miller has often called Leopoldo Palacios a diabolical genius, and on this Nexen Cup course, the final 2 fences are really at the maximum specs for FEI competition, and if the fatigue factor has set in, that can have its consequences. Here's a great little stallion from New Zealand, Telegraph, who we've seen jump to victory on numerous occasions here at Spruce Meadows, with both Bruce Gooden of New Zealand and most recently with Eric Lamaze. 2007, a new rider, Canada's Susan Anderson, returning to the sport after a bit of a sabbatical. And what a great horse to return with. Let's see how he handles the Derby.
I love this horse, and I think this has just been a terrific buy for her. He's so useful. He is fast in the speed competitions. Oh, and then of course I jinx him and he has a jump down. But he is so fast in the speed competitions. He's brave, he's handy, and right now it looks to me like both are a little unsure of what they've gotten themselves into. And what Susan needs to do is she needs to dig down deep, get a grip on it, and put those jumps behind her and ride this course, because this horse can jump it.
I think a little jitters maybe returning to the international stage. Susan Anderson, a member of Team Canada in the early 1990s, but has been away from the sport for about a decade, and with that, she rode perfectly through the Liverpools.
Yeah, and this is a rider that knows how to dig down deep. And it looks so much better, you know, she just all of a sudden seems composed. In the beginning, she seemed tentative. Now she's really, you know, sitting tall, holding on to her horse's mouth, sitting with her horse, with her leg on the horse, and the horse is jumping very well.
They've settled in nicely as they now settle down the massive Spruce Meadows bank at the north end of the stadium to set up for the vertical. Not much motor there, but didn't have a chance.
It is a bit big to be trotting to. 1.48 meters at the bottom of the bank. That's a big trot jump.
He gave it the old college try, however, as they come off the road jump now and towards the Devil's Dyke.
Let's see the ride here.
He stuttered a bit too coming in.
Stuttered. She was pretty aggressive though. I liked her ride. I'd rather that than being tentative, because if you ride it aggressively, you know, okay, you have fence down, but you don't have that stutter coming out at sea.
If she can just keep the motor going here, she should get in under the time allowed. Pulls the last rail, so 5 rails on course, 20 jumping faults. But you can hear the appreciative crowd here welcoming Susan Anderson back into the big leagues here at the Nexen Cup.
Yeah, and I really think this combination can go back, do a little bit of homework, and jump this course clear. A lot of this was, you know, tentativeness at the beginning, and then maybe overcompensated and got a bit aggressive towards the end.
Little casual at the bottom of the bank here. Here's the big trotting pole you spoke of.
Yeah, this is a pretty big jump to trot to. 4 faults there.
Susan Anderson and Telegraph leaving the international ring at Spruce Meadows, and we'll be back with the heart of the order, including Ian Miller and Beezy Madden, as the Nexen Cup continues from the Spruce Meadows National. Richard Spooner has been around this course previously today aboard Hilton Flight. He now returns with his second mount of the competition, Airtime. Spooner, a visitor to the winner's circle on numerous occasions in his $1 million plus career here at Spruce Meadows. The majority of the time it was with his big gray Hanoverian gelding Robinson, now retired from this level of competition, as Richard looks to bring on the next generation, and part of that equation is this horse Airtime, who is just starting to cut its teeth at the top international level, and a stop at the top of the road.
Well, what's interesting about the road jump is it's what's classified as a closed obstacle. So if the horse steps off the side, they're eliminated, and the rider has to stay inside and try to ensure his horse jumps over B.
There's a number of closed obstacles on this Nexen Cup course, including the road jump. The Devil's Dyke would be another example.
And the bank, the vertical at the bottom of the bank. So if they come down the bank, they have to stay within the flags in order to jump the vertical.
Richard Spooner, knowing that time was marching on as he sorted things out on the road jump, now really picking up the gallop here with Airtime. 4 faults leads the way here. Ooh, good hang time for Airtime there at the Liverpools. Gets through them.
The biggest thing on this horse is you can really see when Richard is trying to steer this horse, he's really resisting it, and that can cause you problems because it's so hard to get these horses, you know, to settle down once you've opened them up.
Heading towards another of these closed obstacles, number 14, AB. Oh, they've judged it a refusal at the top of the bank, or at the bottom. Take your pick.
But this horse did step backwards at the top of the bank in the beginning. When he first stops, he actually takes a step to the right-hand side, and it is backwards. and that's what the judges are looking for. If they stop their forward motion or move backwards, they classify it as a refusal.
And that is elimination. 2 refusals on course, elimination from the Nexen Cup. But what I saw from Airtime is he looks like he could be a pretty good Derby horse in the future.
I think that's right, Ian, but he is a little bit green and quite unruly, especially with the bridle. You know, look at his head. He's really resisting anything that Richard is asking him to do. Very difficult. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. What it does tell Richard is he needs to go back, have some homework, really try and teach his horse so he listens to him as opposed to only having the horse's opinion.
Well, Richard Spooner, I suspect, will do just that, and we will see this combination return to the Spruce Meadows International ring in the future. It brings us to Jill Henselwood, who's enjoying a great string of successes with this gelding, Special Ed, who she has taken the time to bring on to the top of the sport, sort out some of those green problems they encountered earlier in their career, have gone on to win 2 Spruce Meadows North American Championships, recently named to the Canadian team for the Pan American Games, and today will look to make an impact here in the Nexen Cup, the inaugural running of this great event here at Spruce Meadows. This is Jill Henselwood with Special Ed.
4 riders left to go. We do not have a clear round. Jill is capable with this horse of jumping a clear round. The other thing I'd like to mention about this course is for our spectators in the stands. This course really has a jump in every corner of the ring, so everybody can really get into this competition and understand how difficult it is.
34,000 of said fans on site today here at Spruce Meadows enjoying the Nexen Cup. Rich Fellers leading the way. And Special Ed on course now with Jill Henselwood. This is a 13-year-old Oldenburg gelding. Big stride on this horse.
Ooh.
That Liverpool has not caused a lot of problems today, obstacle number 10, but it comes down with Special Ed for 4 faults.
Special Ed, the only horse so far to have that jump down. That is, you know, going to our point, every obstacle is a challenge.
Ooh. And going up the bank, the gift, the meter 30 little skip pole going up, number 13 comes down. So there's 8 faults that really you wouldn't have factored into your forecast for this horse.
And jumps that nobody else has had down on course. I mean, it's quite strange.
Now let's see how they handle the Devil's Dyke, because it has taken its toll on a number of horses and riders today. A down, no problems with B or C.
You know, Ian, I almost feel like those first 2 horses gave us a false sense of security at the Devil's Dyke because they jumped it so well, and yet now A is really becoming a factor.
The clock is not a factor for Jill Henselwood and Special Ed. 4 faults, however, at the Devil's Dyke. And then those 2 surprises, fence number 13 and fence number 10. She finishes up with 12 faults.
Little bit spooky. Special Ed reaches over and look at it. It comes down. First one to have that jump down, and this one as well. Very unusual fences to come down on course. A disappointing 12 faults for Jill Henselwood.
We are into the heart of the order here at the Nexen Cup. The big hitters coming through the clock tower now. A man that's won 6 Spruce Meadows Derbies in his history. A man that you sat down with and we met off the top of the show. Ian Miller, the consummate student of the sport, delivers the Cavaliers salute. And he is aboard Redifin, a horse that he's been promoting to us over the last few years, Linda. Ian has maintained this to be one of the most talented young horses in the world, and now at 9 years of age is asking him to step into the big leagues. Debuting today in the Nexen Cup, this is Redifin, the 9-year-old Dutch warm blood. This could be the horse that Ian takes to the Beijing Games if he's named to that Olympic team.
Well, and this horse has jumped so well all week. I mean, he's won a competition in the international ring already this week. Ian seems very confident on this horse. And what's happening right now, 3 horses left to go. Ian Miller, Beezy Madden, and Kyle King. Rich Fellers is in the clubhouse with 4 faults. There's been no clears. So these riders know they have to jump with 4 or clear.
Speaking with Ian and watching this horse, there are certain traits about him that remind him of his legendary Big Bend, including the gallop stride. Big, long stride on this horse, and now, of course, you have to get the gymnastics and flexibility on these big horses, but so far, the plan seems to have worked as they've made their way up the levels to the international level.
I really like this horse. I think this is a horse for Beijing. This horse is very easy the way he jumps. You know, it doesn't look like it's hard on him. He just gets to the jump, lifts up his front legs, lifts up his back legs, lots of power.
Seems to enjoy it. Ears are forward, pays attention to Miller. A little slow there.
Good ride for this horse, though, because it's such a tight combination. And a little buck saying, oh, I got that one done.
Well, and that's another trait that Ian has pointed out to us. Has a bit of attitude. Can tell when he gets on in the morning if Redifin's got a little bit of that going in his veins that day. Fans, of course, here absolutely passionate about Ian Miller's game, so he's carrying 30,000 extra folks on his back right now as well.
This horse looks like he is not being affected by the fatigue so far. Head up, just the same way that he started. Oh, got a little spooked halfway down, but gravity set in.
Didn't like the big divots.
An interesting ride if you're up on the bank watching Ian. He's zigzagging through, jumping the vertical, having to come back for the wall.
Time is a bit of a factor here, though.
Yeah, he's a little bit slow. Remember, we were seeing Rich Fellers and Richard Spooner sort of at 1:30 at the tabletop. Oh, he's in. Come on. Oh.
That was too bad. Redifin really tried to get out. It's 1.48 m coming out, but you're coming out uphill, so that adds a few centimeters to the fence. Recharges nicely there. This horse still looks fresh. Time has surpassed our time allowed, but Ian Miller shows us that Redifin is indeed a great young prospect. 5 faults and into second place here.
And I love the way this horse jumped at the end of the course. This is a power horse. It didn't look like he was struggling at all. Ian had this horse ready, fit, no problems. But he did stutter coming down this bank. He goes, jumps there, and then he went, oh my goodness, I'm going, gravity's setting in.
Bit of an experience factor there, but nicely out of the bottom of the bank over the white vertical.
Has a rub at A. Ian might be thinking he's had it down. And he just needed to hold on to Redifin a little bit better coming out at C. A disappointing 4 faults, but he's sitting clearly in second spot.
I was working at it. Thank you. I was working at it. It's not as push button as the greats make it look as Ian Miller comes out. And we'll watch this great combination. Judgment and Beezy Madden. They have written a rather legendary resume themselves here at Spruce Meadows over the years. And Beezy Madden really is on top of her game right now. And with this stallion, they are a threat anywhere they compete in the world.
Well, and for our aficionados, they know that Judgment had some problems with the water jump. But really, once they solved the water for Judgment, this horse became a superstar in this barn. He's a reliable horse for Beezy. She knows him so well, and he's got all the power to jump the big obstacles, and he's got the right attitude.
He can jump Nations Cup, speed events, Grand Prix, Derbies, not jump them, win them. And although sometimes he might be considered second fiddle to the likes of Authentic, etc., he has really, over the better part of a decade, really delivered for Beasy and John Madden. A year ago in June, winners of the Derby here at Spruce Meadows under absolutely demanding conditions, and now under perfect conditions, they seem to be in fine form as well.
Another one that's jumping with a lot of power, very much like Redifin. Whew. Look at how high he is over those jumps.
Of course, Miller and Beasy Madden have a little bit of a competition underway themselves to go to Ian's competitive spirit. It was once thought he was untouchable at the top of the career earnings here at Spruce Meadows. And this star from the United States has quietly encroached onto the $2 million in career earnings and has him in the crosshairs now. So that one will continue to unfold over the years to come, I'm sure.
I like her time coming off the tabletop. She's at 1:29. Time, I don't believe, is a factor. The Devil's Dyke is coming up. This horse's gallop looks great. If she jumps this clear, we may have our first clear round. A rub there.
Oh, a lucky rub.
And she's through. And listen to the crowd.
She took her time to square up coming into the Devil's Dyke there, knowing time wasn't a problem, didn't need to manage the clock at all.
One jump to go, and we will have our first clear round.
The legend of Beasy Madden and Judgment continues here at Spruce Meadows, and it wasn't long for her to get the hands off the reins and wave to the crowd, kind of her signature. It's as much emotion as she ever shows, along with that great smile. But there is the new leader here at Spruce Meadows with one to go. Beasy Madden and Judgment are in good shape.
A little rub here. But Beasy, ever so cool, just allows Judgment to jump through. She knows she's almost home free. Watch this again, a light rub. Very calm, very cool, and very collected. A clear round for Beasy Madden.
Sounds from the warm-up area as Beasy Madden departs the stadium, smile on her face, and I'm sure a carrot or two for Judgment. The waiting game starts for Beasy Madden as Kyle King is about to go to work aboard Capone, and we know the kind of confidence and the kind of capability that Kyle has and that this stallion has shown over the 18 months they've had together. So, will we have a jump off, or is Beasy Madden the champion of the inaugural Nexen Cup?
The pressure is definitely on. Kyle knows what he has to do. But what he really has to focus on is each jump as individual jumps.
Just moments ago, we saw Beasy Madden and Judgment focus on every fence and deliver a clear round. Now Kyle King will look to do the same with his black stallion, Capone. Earlier today, Kyle felt it might come down to a showdown between he and Beasy, maybe even a jump off, but that'll mean he has to post a clear round here, Linda. Whoa, nice effort at the water.
And you know, the interesting thing is every jump counts because we've seen every jump come down on course.
$175,000 on the line today. And right now, the medal podium has Beasy Madden, Rich Fellers, and Ian Miller standing on the steps. All going according to plan so far.
We're clear so far. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to jinx them. Clear to the top of the bank. Beautiful ride. Look at that. Straight down, easy over the vertical, straight to the wall. Let's check the time when he jumps the table. Clearly within the time allowed, so that's not a factor. He's clear to the Devil's Dyke. Now he really needs to settle down. This is it, Ian.
And there it goes. Any dreams of winning today fade away in the Devil's Dyke. There's Beezy Madden as she wins the inaugural Nexen Cup at Spruce Meadows aboard Judgment. And there's her husband, John, who will take a lot of the credit for the victory, I'm sure. But it was Beezy and Judgment that got the job done today. And there is Kyle King. 20 meters of this course, very costly. The Devil's Dyke.
And a disappointing ride for Kyle. You know, he had such a great round going. His horse jumped well. He rode beautifully. And the nemesis, the Devil's Dyke, comes into play for Kyle King. Watch this. A nice ride in. His horse perhaps just a little bit too brave, a little bit too forward. And he's having trouble with his wraps around his horse's feet. Maybe that caused some problems. Right there, Beezy Madden knows she's won. What an exciting event. I love the course. I love the way the riders rode it. It was exciting. You could feel it in the air. And a terrific podium. Beezy Madden the winner. Rich Fellers in second. Ian Miller in third. Kyle King finishes in fourth place. Beezy Madden is standing by with our Ian Allison in the winner's circle.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason she's considered one of the best in the world. You saw it today. The newly crowned champion of the Nexen Cup from the United States, Beezy Madden, wins it in style. Her legend continues in the international ring, a legend that has included many horses, but none more important than Judgment, and he was full marks for the victory today. Tell us what makes this great stallion click with you so well.
Well, I've had him now for 6 years, and he's just a fantastic jumper. He kind of fits me like a glove now, and he loves this place, he loves the crowd, and he was awesome today.
Well, he had 33,000 on his back carrying him around the course today to the victory circle to meet a good friend of this sport, Charlie Fisher, the Chief Executive Officer of Nexen, starting a great new tradition in a great way today. Charlie?
Well, it's wonderful for us to be here. And I didn't know a lot about Derby, but it's a long, tough course, and I think all of the horses and riders did a great job, but congratulations to Beezy. It was the only clear ride today, and fantastic. Congratulations.
Indeed, it was a definitive victory. Clear rounds are very rare. Nice to start this tradition off with one clear and a clear-cut champion. I think you have a champion's check to reward for the effort.
Well, we do, and Beezy, it's our pleasure, on behalf of all the folks at Nexen, give you this check. Congratulations.
$58,000, ladies and gentlemen, for Beezy Madden of the United States, continuing her legend here at Spruce Meadows. Beezy, as Judgment makes his way into the stadium here, tell us about coming late in the order, what it meant. You saw a lot of people go, a lot of problems.
You know, the fact that there were no clear really with this horse kind of inspires me, because he's usually better the harder it is, so it was a good position.
You have one last task today. I want you to step forward and hoist the Crystal Chalice for the first time off the champions podium here at Spruce Meadows. Ladies and gentlemen, the inaugural Nexen Cup goes to Beezy Madden and Judgment of the United States.
Beautiful weather for the inaugural Nexen Cup, unveiled by the maestro, Leopoldo Palacios of Caracas, Venezuela. A terrific challenge, with fences coming down all around the course. Only one horse and rider was able to master the test. And what a combination, Beezy Madden and Judgment. A fabulous addition on the resume of this duo. Congratulations, Beezy. Now on behalf of my colleagues, Shana Nakoni and Ian Allison, I'm Linda Heathcott, so long from Spruce Meadows.
And then all that's broken, remnants of all that's golden. I'm holding on to that feeling. I'm holding on to that feeling. I'm holding on to that feeling.
It's time to look ahead. So now there's the option to buy remotely with Ram Click and Drive. We're offering Employee Pricing Plus with no payments for 120 days and 0% financing for 84 months.